Hey there! Welcome to Retro Reloaded. I'm your host Lance, and each week I tackle a retro game shaped by your picks. If you want a chance to choose next week's game or unlock exclusive bonus episodes and polls, join me on Patreon at patreon.com/retroreloaded. There's even a free tier to dip your toes in. Big thanks for all of your love and support. It means the world to me. Now let's hit the start button and reload those retro vibes. Before we jump into the episode, I wanted to give a quick shout out to the awesome supporters over on Patreon who help keep Retro Reloaded going. Huge thanks to the 64-bit legend, our legendary supporter Zero, for always being consistent and such an awesome supporter of the show. Also, our 16-bit adventurers, Tetra Folly and Marcus Q, thank you so much for helping the show every month. You're always very supportive, and I appreciate you. And then, of course, our 8-bit explorers, Werkin Warden, Gaming Quarterly, and Anthony T. Thank you so much for your help. Everything counts, and I appreciate your support. And then, of course, just everybody who listens to the show, who likes the show on YouTube, Patreon, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all these different places where you watch, listen to the show. Thank you for supporting me there. Leaving comments helps a lot. Liking, engaging, all these things. So appreciate your involvement. It's been really great. And if you're ever interested, there is a free tier on Patreon. It's just it's a good way to get involved. And of course, our Discord, Retro Reloaded Discord, is a really great way to be involved in the community. So thank you all for keeping retro gaming alive.
This is a Pixel Panel episode, an episode where Lance, the host of Retro Reloaded, takes a step back and lets us, the community, take over. We choose a gaming topic and format just for everyone to enjoy. Lance thanks us Pixel Panel warriors for stepping up to the plate to host an episode. If you're interested in participating in Pixel Panel episodes, you can join the Retro Reloaded Discord in the link below. Now let's get on with the show.
Hello everyone, I am SummerSetBanjo, and I am the guest host for this episode of Pixel Panel. This episode, we are going to be talking about 3D platformers, the genre of it. And today with us, we have two guests. We have MamaSloth64.
Hello.
And Paphvul.
Paphvul male.
Yes.
I'm not at your service, but I'm here just the same.
Well, welcome you two. I'm glad to have you on this episode.
Happy to be
And it's
here.
good to be here. I don't know why I'm doing that voice, but shall I commit to the bit? Unlikely.
All right.
Might as well.
For those of you that are interested, you can find me at my YouTube channel, SummerSetBanjo. I also have a Ko-fi, also known as SummerSetBanjo. I also have a Twitter, known as SummerSetBanjo. And even a DeviantArt account, also known as SummerSetBanjo. You can find me at any of those places quite easily, although I'm most active at YouTube. Anyway, Magma, why don't you share some of your socials first before, was it Paphvul? Paphvul Mail?
Yeah, I personally don't have any socials where, like, you can see things that I've made. I mostly share those in private, but if you look my name up, you will see, like, things involving me.
So, no website or YouTube channel you wish to plug?
I have a website, but it is not, like, in any shape for me to plug it. I would have to work on it way more before I'm ready to do that.
Okay. Magma, anything you wish to share for yourself, or share a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, quick introduction. In my spare time, outside of my day job, I am a 3D environment artist for Tripmind Studios, working on Operation Black Mesa and Guard Duty. And
Ooh.
although I don't have personally a website I would like to plug, I might as well plug tripmindstudios.com. We're always working hard on our game and brewing up media releases.
Right. Paphvul, anything you wish to share about yourself before we begin?
No, I think everything else is just going to be self-evident.
Okay. All right. Well, with all that out of the way, let's begin on our topic. We're going to be talking about 3D platformers. You know, they kind of got their start in the mid-90s, and kind of was a constant for many a child during that period of time that were getting into gaming. Um, Pretty much any time from the mid '90s to, I would say, maybe the late 2000s or early 2010s. So, for a lot of people, that's a wide range of nostalgia. But
Oh yeah.
I guess one of the first things we should probably discuss first is what are 3D platformers and how you define them, because
Ooh, good
one
question.
person to another may look at a different kind of game and call that a 3D platformer or not. And, some people kind of, you know, view collectathons as part of the 3D platforming genre or as something separate. So, why don't you two take it away from there? What do you guys think what a 3D platformer is and how you define it?
I got a few thoughts on that.
Oh,
Um,
you go ahead.
all right. In the earliest days of video games, um, there was console gaming and computer gaming. They were pretty much entirely different cultures. Um, and at least with computer games, uh, the big like high budget, well polished video games at the time in like the early '90s would have been maybe even late '80s would have been like point and click adventure games. Um, and with consoles, it was always action games, and that kind of evolved over time. Uh, Throughout the late '90s, we, ushered in the golden age of gaming, where we got all the best video games of all time we know and love. Um, and platformers dominated the market, but as we moved forward, I felt like, at least on consoles, 3D platformers were kind of the standard video game, but as people were trying to push the boundaries and when it came to the audience demanding like in a market sense demanding higher quality games from high budget studios, those kind of evolved into open world kind of games, and then more and more we have what we recognize today as like a high budget AAA game, which is kind of like a open world RPG elements, maybe some platforming elements, maybe some shooter elements, but they're like the AAA game of today is kind of its own genre almost. Stuff like Assassin's Creed would be a good example. Um, Maybe Fallout, but I feel like in the '90s, 3D platformers were kind of the dominant genre, and now today we can recognize a platformer as its own very distinct thing, which a lot of us know and love. It's unfortunate there's not so much of a big market demand for it, so big studios tend to play it safe and don't make 3D platformers all that often anymore. They're usually flops and financial failures when they do, so there's not much incentive, but indie game devs have all the freedom in the world to make 3D platforms, and they're still being churned out year after year, and they're amazing.
3D platformer, in terms of actual game genre, is an interesting question because, like the roguelite, you can find elements of it in basically anything that has a jump button.
Yeah.
Would Nier Automata be considered a platformer? By some, since it has segments that qualifies that, in the sense that the overall game loop is very much reminiscent of that. But then again, both Nier games also will just switch genre at any given time. So the broadest thing you can say about it is, oh yeah, it's an action RPG.
So then how would we define a 3D platformer? In
I
our own
consider
definition,
it to be
I don't wanna read a definition online.
yeah, I consider it to be like the Tau. The 3D platformer that can be spoken is not the true 3D platformer.
I love it. Best answer.
So
Yeah.
basically, when you think about it, genre is also just a very convenient fiction of sorting things. Like, oh yeah, this goes in the 3D platformer section of the store or whatever, even though there's no such section in any game store, but my brain cross wires that with bookstores, which do have that. So we'll play along with that little notion.
I wanna visit that store if they got a 3D platformer section.
Yeah.
Right?
So, I suppose we could probably define a 3D platformer as a game that is 3D and there is platforming. You can jump.
Mhm.
Probably there's probably got to be a jump button. I mean, like Zelda, like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask. I kind of compartmentalize that in my mind as like a part of that era, but it's technically not a platformer at all. You actually can't jump, even though there's like elements of it where you might jump across pits or obstacles. It's like an automatic walk up to here and Link automatically jumps. So I think having control over your jump and maybe even position in the air while jumping is very important. Very responsive controls. I would honestly say, different game genres evoke different feelings. They play off of different fantasies and desires of the player that might choose to experience that. And I feel like with the 3D platformer, what's most important is movement, just freedom of movement, getting around and navigating, really tight, responsive controls. You just feel total freedom moving around through this world.
Mhm.
I would say the same, honestly. And it's interesting you mentioned movement because for a while there was not really a standardized set of controls for the 3D platformer. Like,
Hmm.
there was a long while in the 90s where everything had tank controls.
Oh, that sucks. I remember Tomb Raider 2. Controlled like Lara Croft controlled like a tank. You would have to like stop,
Eh,
turn, and rotate, then move forward and jump, and you had the angle a little off, so you missed your jump. Oh
Now
man, I
that's
almost.
now that raises a good question. Would you define the early Tomb Raider games as a 3D platformer or not?
Oh man, I don't know. I mean, kinda. I want to say no. It doesn't feel like a 3D platformer, but it kind of is, right? You're jumping over bottomless pits, jumping over obstacles. There was a lot of jumping, and is jumping the
it
main
does not
element?
follow it doesn't follow the modern tropes of what we think of as the 3D platformer, but it did like have a foundational effect of establishing a lot of tropes that did make it. It followed a lot of the paradigms of the 2D platformer and it did its best to adapt those into 3D. So
Yeah.
I would consider it I would consider it a 3D platformer in that sense.
I guess it kinda is because there was that little period of time where everything was a 3D platformer because, the transition to 3D after Mario 64, everyone wanted to do that. I know Sega was competing in the race to make a 3D Sonic game, and they couldn't quite pull it off just in time. Uh, Unfortunately, we never got Sonic Extreme. I'm always curious what
They
that game
made the
might have been
mistake
like.
of handing development over to STI, who had no idea how to use the admittedly obtuse, very 2D centric Saturn's hardware for that.
Yeah, they were in over their heads, I would imagine. That probably was really stressful just scratching their heads trying to figure out how to make it work. But
Yeah,
I
not only that, but they also had dev kit problems too. I don't know if it was an issue at STI, but I know that some of the different offices that was trying to develop games for the Saturn early on, they only had one dev kit for the entire team, and so people would have to take shifts to use it at all
My
hours.
God.
Huh. So when you say dev kit, what is that like? Like a workstation with the tools you
Yes.
need to use? Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
The early, like the first year and a half of Saturn development was really rough for anyone in the United States, at least, and some in Japan too.
Dang.
Imagine you grow up and Marty, it's my turn to use the computer, but it's your job.
Yeah, right. That's hilarious.
The
So
game
I
was rigged against them from the start.
it kind of was. It just got dealt a bad hand in that case.
Oh,
There
so
were some interesting, I sorry, just kind of as an aside, there were some interesting moral lessons to that story of their failure because they kinda created vaporware in a sense. They had this real aggressive marketing like, "Mario sucks, Sonic is better, Sonic's gonna enter 3D first," like, that was kind of the vibe, um, and it was kind of vaporware. They were overpromising something they actually couldn't deliver, but back to the point of Tomb Raider 2, I think because everyone was impressed with 3D, exploring a 3D world, uh, that was like the AAA gaming at the time was basically make a 3D platformer. And so Tomb Raider 2, or Tomb Raider 1, whatever, was essentially following that same format of like the point and click adventure games. It's an adventure game, but on consoles, it needs to be an action game. So it's kind of a combination of both. It's like an adventure action game, very complex, probably high budget for the time, with all the voice acting and all that, CG animated, pre-rendered cutscenes and all that. But I mean, you could at least generically call it an action game. I feel like we could classify it as a 3D platformer just because it had 3D platforming elements because that was very prevalent at the time, I guess.
Would you consider Bubsy 3D an actual 3D
Ooh.
platformer?
Yes, the best of the best.
It
You know, they actually
meets
made a
all the
Bubsy.
criteria.
Did you see they made a Bubsy 4 or they're working on it?
Yeah, I was
Oh
I was actually
yeah,
I was actually
I am
surprised.
hoping. I am hoping it is good because the trailer actually looks competent, and I am praying that like it's at least decent because I want to say, oh yeah, I recommend people play the new Bubsy game.
But you
Like
don't need to play
that'll be
the
the
other one.
funniest thing I could say all year.
Well,
It's amazing.
if Bubsy comes back in success, then fingers crossed for a Gex 4.
Oh, that'd be
Oh
awesome.
yeah, his boyfriend.
Yeah, you brought it to Gex. You brought it there. That's got to be one of the best 3D platformers. I wouldn't count it as the best, but it is one of the best. It's very special.
So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. What was your first 3D platformer?
Ooh. I'll let you
Mario
take this one
64.
first. Mario 64, nice. That would be Crash
Yeah.
Bandicoot for me.
Oh, nice.
For
Crash
for me,
Bandicoots. Oh, you going
Actually,
ahead?
actually no, but I'll let you say. I want to hear your thoughts on Mario 64, and I want to hear you really simmer in it. What are your memories and your feelings about Mario 64, and then I'll dive into my complicated,
Mine or
convoluted answer.
his?
Uh, you, Potville, and then I guess you, Sunnyside. I'm kind of curious yours as well.
Well, to be honest, I was born the year before Mario 64 came out, so I have no real memory of the 90s as a period, but I did grow up with Mario 64. Notably, I did play the 64 version first, but it was on like a really garbage CRT where all the colors were warped, and
The best
I
way to
didn't
play
really.
it.
The only time as a kid I first knew what the game was about was the DS remake, which
Oh
added
wow.
and changed a ton of things. But a lot of it is interesting. I did go back and locate a copy of the original game because, you know, you could still buy an 64 game relatively non bank bustingly at the time.
It's a good way to put it.
And I was one of the people who would look things up online and just try them. Like, oh, well, you can find Luigi in the castle courtyard or whatever if you do this and that. And just
Oh
like,
yeah.
I did the thing of exploring that one bit of wet dry world where there's just a town there, nobody lives in it. It's not, it doesn't have any reason to be there, but it just is.
It's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
Very
Oh,
liminal.
speaking of liminal, have y'all played B3313?
no.
Whoa, what the heck is that? B33
Oh
one
my
three.
goodness. So the best way to describe it is asking, are you familiar with Yume Nikki? That
No.
one RPG Maker game where like you played as a little girl and just wandered around weird landscapes. There was no like combat or dialogue or anything. It was just gathering items and seeing what weird stuff you could find next.
No, actually, it sounds interesting. I'm looking at images right now. It looks pretty
Yeah,
interesting. There's
basically,
a 3D remake.
yeah, basically for Mario 64, B33 is like a Yume Nikki in that it crams as much weird, liminal, and oftentimes somewhat creepy content into one game with no real through line, except that it's supposed to be building off the viral creepypasta idea that every copy of Mario 64 is personalized, and the AI in earlier versions was a lot more advanced and aggressive.
You know what's
And
funny? I'm sorry to cut you off. I just
oh,
had to
you're good.
mention, I personally believed that as a kid with Animal Crossing. I thought it in with a few games like the Chow Garden and Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, I thought the game was alive somehow in some kind of way. I don't know, I developed my
Oh,
own
same.
superstition as a kid.
Same. I think we all wrote like at least one impassioned plea for our Animal Crossing neighbors to please don't move. I really like you.
Yeah, yeah, I do remember doing that. That's hilarious.
Uh, which is funny because you could have easily just filled that letter with swear words and God knows what else and would have prompted the exact same reaction from them.
I
They
think you're
can't
right.
actually read what you write them.
But as a kid, your imagination is so vivid and you don't know how programming works. You just think it's this magical black box with little creatures living in it, and somehow they can read your messages.
Yeah.
Before ChatGPT was a thing, I mean, that might be possible now.
Yeah. So, for me, I think my first 3D platformer, uh, I'm pretty sure it was probably Mario 64.
Hmm.
I was a child of 1994, so I actually do have a little bit of memory of the 90s, the very late 90s, that is. Um, I was lucky enough to have both a PlayStation and a 64 as a child. So,
Right.
and
Nice.
most of my games were like, weekday and weekend rentals. And so, I'm pretty sure Mario 64 was my first one. If not, then it was likely either Gex 3D, Spyro 1, or Croc.
All good games.
Yeah.
Weirdly
All right.
enough, I never played Spyro as a kid, but I had Bubsy 3D for some reason.
What? Why did you have that game?
I don't know.
Why would
I
that even exist on your shelf?
I don't
You were
know why.
scammed.
It somehow manifested in that one book like case with all the pages of CDs that you just slot things into. My my thing just had Bubsy 3D in it. I have no memory of where it came from, where it would go, where it came from, Cotton Eye Joe. Just no idea. It
Maybe it just
is a cryptid.
you may have just manifested in your room.
It might.
Yeah.
It might have.
It's
So,
like
what
the world's lamest SCP.
could you adjust your volume a little bit? You're getting kind of quiet.
Who, me?
Oh,
Oh.
Magma, you are. It's getting kind of muffled and quiet for you.
Oh, is it? I might have been leaning away from the microphone. How unprofessional of me. How's that? Is that better?
A little better, but muffled.
Muffled.
he leans
Oh,
away from the mic to breathe.
what? I mean, I can check my noise levels. Let's see. How's that? How do I sound?
Better, I think. What do you think?
I mean, it's
Testing,
serviceable.
testing.
Okay.
Slightly. Oh, well, that one was a bit severely muffled.
Muffled? Why the heck am I muffled?
I don't know. Is James Sunderland in the room with you?
That one went right over my head.
Oh,
Okay,
you need
that
to play
sounded a little
Silent
bit
Hill
better.
too.
how how about now?
Better.
Uh, yeah, that's better.
All right, we'll just go with that.
Okay, so why don't you share about your first 3D platform experience since you said you have a bit of a complicated history?
All right, so my first response was Crash Bandicoot, but that actually wasn't my first 3D platformer. I can think of two of them in my earliest memory. So I was born in '93. I got like a late '90s childhood, very early '90s. I was too young to really form like coherent nostalgic memories. But uh, I actually had my dad had a PlayStation 1 and he would get games for it and he was real excited about it. We'd play them together. And my first two 3D platformers that I distinctly remember playing through were, oh, what was it called? I want to say it was called Blasto. Let me look it up.
I know what
Blasto.
you mean.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Blasto. That
That
was
one
it.
is, that's the name of it.
Yeah, wasn't that the
Blasto.
one that was like one of Phil Hartman's final performances?
Oh wow,
Yep.
I did not know that. Um, I haven't played it in a while, but I do remember revisiting it in my early adulthood, and it was terribly difficult. I don't know how I played it as a kid, but I was really into it. I guess you can
We
get
all
used
just
to
have
anything.
way more patience as kids.
Yeah, I think you're right. Another one I remember, if I can remember the name, I'm struggling to reach through my memory. You played as a kid in a mansion and you had like a bubble gun. Is this ringing any bells?
Vaguely? Was it 40 Winks?
I'm gonna look it up. Oh, Rascal. That's what it was called, Rascal.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Rascal. PlayStation 1. Yeah, it was cool. Yeah, you were in a mansion. You had this, it was like a kind of a haunted mansion. It was kind of a dungeon crawler almost, but it had like a hub world that you could go into the different area. I would almost describe it as like almost like a 3D Metroidvania dungeon crawler because you would go back in the same like similar locations you would previously visit. You'd have to unlock doors, but it was almost like croc level controls, like really simple. Um, but the first like 3D platformer I got really into was Crash Bandicoot. My dad had this woodworking shop, and I would just go to work with him and sit in the break room. There was a CRT television and a PlayStation 1, and I'll just play Crash Bandicoot all day. And I got really good at that game. I actually beat the game 100%, believe it or not. Crash 1. It is a tremendously difficult game to get all the boxes, all the gems, but I got the special ending, and it was like one of the most triumphant moments of my childhood.
Nice.
You know,
Uh,
Crash Bandicoot's another one I didn't really play as a kid, weirdly enough.
huh.
It's
I had
probably worth
Bubsy
picking up.
3D for some reason.
You had PUBG 3D.
But I also
It's
had
like
the Sonic Adventure games. The OG Dreamcast version, because I am the
Ooh,
elite, the few, the proud Dreamcast owners.
wow, that sounds rare. I had the GameCube version. That
Yeah. The
was one
GameCube
of my
version
favorite
of
games.
2 was better than the Dreamcast one. The GameCube of the first game was a botched remaster, but it did have a lot of extra content that still made it worth playing.
Mhm.
Okay. So do you prefer Sonic Adventure 1 or 2?
Oh, well, that depends on my mood, honestly, because
Nice.
I like the aesthetics of Adventure 1 a ton, and
Mm.
the jank of the physics actually lends to the gameplay loop, especially of
Oh, yeah.
Sonic's story,
I
because
remember
you
that.
can perform these you can perform these massive, really cool speedrunning skips if you just abuse the spin dash button in just the right ways.
I remember that as a kid getting the, what was that one power up? It was like a ring you wear on your wrist up in the sewers in this upper
The
chamber.
crystal,
Yeah, something like that, and it allows you
okay,
to, like, spin dash and collect rings and stuff like that.
yeah, the light speed shoes, and then you got
That
those
was
upgraded by the crystal ring.
okay. My memory's a little fuzzy, but I do remember having a lot of fun just screwing with the physics. Like, you could jump, and you were just, like, floating in the air, like, you could kinda move around while you're slowly lifting up. It was just really unusual physics. Yeah, Sonic Adventure I remember it as Sonic Adventure DX Director's Cut. That's the one I had, but that was a very memorable game. I love the Chow. That was a cool mechanic, but I just really love the gameplay and the mystery of the story and all that. I got really into it, but Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, I got really into the Chow in that game when I was a kid. I thought they were
yeah.
like my babies.
Yeah. I
I
really
love
had a lot
the
of fun with the Venture 2 Chow.
Such a
yeah, the
cool,
Chow
unique
Garden in
mechanic.
general was a ton of fun. I back in 2020 when I just had nothing else to do, I finally sat my butt down and 100%ed that game. And oh
Nice.
my lord, everything involving Knuckles and Rouge was a
Oh, I could see that. Yep. Getting an A ranking on those levels. Jeez.
the radar
Um,
in that game was designed in a weird way where it would only detect the emeralds in a specific order. So
Yeah.
like you could be right next to one of them, but if it's the third in the
right.
sequence, it just doesn't pick it up.
I forgot about that. Yeah, you're totally right.
I had to play with a mod that fixed that because it's the 2020s and I am an adult and I'm aware of my own mortality. I don't have time to waste on bad
That's
game
right.
design choices.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. That's why that's why I kind of stay away from some RPGs because they don't respect your time.
Yeah, right. I love when a game respects your time.
Yeah.
Now, as an adult with very little time, I realize how precious my time is. Pretty much the only games I play anymore is a game I can jump into, experience it really quick, like 15 minutes max. I'm like, all right, I gotta go. Um, I it's not a platformer, I'm sorry, but I've been hooked on Vampire Survivors lately. And
Oh,
the rounds,
nice.
oh, it's so freaking good. But the rounds are like 30 minutes. And I went through a phase where, like, for a week, I just binged that game. Interestingly enough, I experienced a new phenomenon. I had to look it up because I thought I was going crazy. I would close my eyes and literally see the gems and just movement coming towards the center of my vision. I would literally, like, closed eye hallucinations, see the gems. So I looked it up. It's called the Tetris effect. It happens when you stare at a game too long. Um,
Dang.
yeah. Other people in that
CRT burn-in
subreddit
happens with your
experienced it.
retinas too.
That's right. Yes, CRT burn-in is pretty much that, but in your eyes. Um, I bring that up because after about a week of binging it, I keep feeling a temptation to get back to it, but 30 minutes somehow is too much time. I always have to, like, pause it and try to come back to it later. So I really appreciate good indie games where you can pause it at any point and come back, something like that.
Yeah.
Undertale's good about that.
Yeah. So
Hey,
what
you go on ahead.
yeah. So what is everyone's top 3 3D platformers and why?
Oh my god.
It's a heavy
That's
question.
especially since like there are a lot of more recent ones that I have just not gotten much of a chance to play in addition to just like the foundational like works in the oeuvre of the genre is just a lot of those are just ones I missed out on. So my top 3 would probably not pass muster for a gaming publication, but I would have to think about that.
All right,
Do,
Magma,
do,
would you like
do.
to go first then?
Yeah, top three. Man, that's a tough one. All right, I gotta say, I might kind of rearrange my list here. You know what? I feel like this is easy, actually. Um, Spyro one, not in order. Uh, this is an unordered list. I don't know if I could narrow these down to a top one, but Spyro one, that's a really good game. All three of the first Spyro games are good, but the first one, that's the one where the real creative juices were flowing. You know, they're passionate, they were inspired. They're like, we need to make this game a reality. After that, they're kind of just regurgitating it and kind of adding stuff. They did a good job with it, but I just don't feel like the same creative spark was there. I don't know. Um, the the second one on my list has got to be Crash 1. Even though it's hardcore, I mean, all three of the first Crash games were really good. Crash 1 just has a special place in my heart. And Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 2. That is a really good 3D platformer. If y'all haven't played it, you got to check it
played
out.
a little bit of it as a kid. I remember
Nice.
none of it, but actually, no, I only played the first one, a little bit of that.
I actually
I've
haven't
only
played
ever
the
played the
first one.
first one.
I have not played the first one. Is it good?
It feels very much like Spyro, except you have a boomerang weapon. But it felt when I played it, it felt like this feels like a Spyro game almost.
That's cool. What I really like about Spyro is it feels so speed runny. Like you go fast, you charge, can get all this motion, and there's replayability in that sense because you're like, oh, I'm good at this game. I know what I'm doing. For me, Crash 1 is very punishing, and that's why I like it, is because I'm good at it, because I played it so repetitively as a kid. It's just like burned into my muscle memory how to get through these challenging segments. So it's fun to play with other people and watch them suffer, and I can actually
I
get
would
through the temples.
I say that the first Crash game threads the line pretty well of being like hard, but not too hard. It manages to strike a pretty good balance. Now, for me, I actually played the Crash franchise backwards. The first Crash game I ever played was Crash 3, and then like later on I got Crash 2, and then like a number of years later I ended up with Crash 1. And so in a way, I started with like the easiest Crash game and worked my way up to the hardest. And so when I actually played through Crash 1, even though I didn't have anywhere near the powers or abilities that the later Crashes would have, I actually felt like it felt pretty dang rewarding because I had already kind of built up a really good muscle memory of the other two Crash games.
Nice. Did you beat any of them?
Oh, I mean, I got the normal endings in all three Crash games, but I never got the 100% endings.
100% is hard. That's a tall
Yeah.
order. I could never get it in Crash 2, even though I really wanted to. It was just so mysterious with some of the secret areas. It was the kind of stuff you had to look up, but it was before, like, you would just go on the internet and look it up as, like, a regular thing you would do, so
Now, funny enough, in the Japanese version of Crash Bash, an unlockable bonus in the Japanese release of that game is footage of how to find all the unlocks in Crash 2, like all the
What?
secret areas. But
No.
it's exclusive to the Japanese version of Crash Bash.
What? That is crazy. Oh, man, I gotta check that out. I had a lot of fun with Crash Bash. It's funny, you can't really consider that a 3D platformer, but it was a very clever party game. It had some really fun multiplayer segments in there.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I agree. I honestly, I would love to see like a remake or remaster of Crash Bash.
yeah.
Yeah,
y-
I got pretty dang far in that game playing as Cortex.
Nice. You know what's kind of funny? I hate to say it, but I kind of prefer the original games over the remasters when it comes to Crash Bandicoot and Spyro, just because the some I don't know. I almost feel like those games were made perfectly the first time,
Mhm.
and there's no need to remake them. And when I play the remakes, like they're beautiful and polished, but it just doesn't feel the same.
Physics are very different in the remake.
They
Yes.
are, and I don't know. It doesn't feel the same. It's like some about that low poly aesthetic is just very satisfying. The pixel
Yeah.
art.
Oh yeah, but yeah, I totally get what you mean because I was like really hyped for the remastered Crash Bandicoot, and I went to a GameStop, and they had a demo kiosk of it, and I played it. It was and I was playing it. I was like, this doesn't feel right because I have such an ingrained muscle memory of how the physics in Crash Bandicoot could work that I could just tell just from the jumping that
Yeah,
the character weight was all off.
yeah. It felt kind of drifty. It
Well,
just
to
didn't
me, it
feel
felt
as
too heavy.
responsive.
It felt
Yeah,
like that
yeah.
they took like the weight that Crash had in the first Crash Bandicoot game and then just copied how heavy he felt in the first game across all 3. And I was like, no, they made Crash lighter in Crash 2 and Crash 3, but now you've made him just as heavy as he was in Crash 1.
Good point.
Like,
And
if they were going to mess with the physics, they should have done that in reverse.
yeah.
Now,
And like I said, I think I really like the visuals in the Spyro remake, but I also don't like that they censored it. They got rid of the Norks with the AKs in the first game.
oh, you're right. Yeah, that's silly censorship right there. Also in the Spyro remake, they did an incredible job on the first one, and then it felt like they were rushed to meet their deadline with the second and the third. Like the
Oh,
first one was so creative with the dragons and the environments. You know what I
that,
mean?
yeah, well, that's because you are absolutely correct. Activision basically gave barely more than a year to remake all 3 Spyro games. And Toys for Bob basically looked at it like, we don't have time to do this. So Toys for Bob subcontracted out the remastering of Spyro 2 and 3 to Sanzaro Games. So it was an
Oh,
entirely different dev team that did Spyro 2 and 3 for the Reignited. And
that
even
checks out.
then,
That way they could pour their passion into the first one. Okay,
yeah,
that makes
and
sense.
yeah, and even then, Sanzaru was so crunched for time that Spyro 3 didn't even make it onto the disc. Like, it was just included as a day 1 patch in the initial release of Spyro Reignited because
That's
they were so pressed for
wild.
time.
Oh
I
no.
remember that.
Indie games forever. That's what sucks about budgets is, you got someone paying you all this money, they need a return on their money, so you got a deadline, you got all this pressure. Indie games you can take as long as you want. You want to spend 30 years making a game, go for it.
Yeah. So, for
Just
me,
don't turn into
I guess,
Yandere, Dev.
yeah. So I guess that's your 3. So it was, what were they again?
That would have to be Crash Bandicoot 1, Spyro 1, and Ty the Tasmanian Tiger 2. I guess I'd like to touch on that game real quick.
Sure.
The second Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, um, they had just perfected the formula. I feel like they really found their identity when they were working on the second game. The first one was more like they were getting their hands dirty, kind of getting some experience. They really knew what they were doing as a studio. It's bush rescue. You're in Australia and you're going around saving people and responding to emergencies. You're just the firefighter, medic, police force, army, all rolled up into a couple of furry characters, I guess.
I
But
like that premise.
yeah, it's you're just like this little group of, I guess, heroes that go around helping people with their mundane tasks and forest fires and stuff like that. But it's really cool. Um, each so how do I put it? I almost want to say there's a hub world that you're not immediately introduced to. Um, each area is connected. There's no like leaving an area and selecting from a menu or anything. It's like a. I guess I could use the term Metroidvania in that sense, right? Can I? I don't know. It's all connected and you can backtrack and all that. But um, later in the game, you get a Jeep and you get on this highway and you can travel around this map of these roads and stop off at different locations and get out. And it's a whole like 3D platforming open world you can explore. And there's hundreds of these locations. There's all these characters you can interact with. There's towns where there's people walking around. It's I feel like they perfected the art form for that time period.
Nice, nice.
Honestly, the hub world is a staple of the 3D platformer. I missed it in SA2.
Yeah, good point.
Yeah. All right. So how about I go next?
Yeah.
Alrighty.
My top 3 would probably be um probably Spyro 3 because it was my first Spyro game, and it was one of the first games I ever 100% completed. I have a lot of love for Spyro 3. I really like the cast of characters. I like the music in that game. I enjoyed the environments. It was a lot of fun. Um, and uh, it just seemed like such a huge game at the time. My Another one of my favorites is probably my number two is probably going to be Banjo Tooie. It is one of my favorite 64 games, and is one of my favorite 3D platformers. I love the scale and scope of it. I enjoy the visual style of the game. I love the bosses in that game. It does not feel. A lot of people feel daunted by the size and scope of it, but I don't know. It's not like you're pressured to do anything. And in fact, of a lot of 3D platformers for the 64, the barrier of entry to beating the game is actually fairly generous. You only need to like collect 70 jiggies to win. And I don't know. I really like a lot of the improvements that Tui had over Banjo Kazooie. Um, so I just really really love that game, and it always kind of I always feel a little sad that that more people don't really like that game as much as the first Banjo Kazooie game. Not don't get me wrong, the first Banjo Kazooie game is great. But I really really love Banjo Tooie.
Oh
Uh,
man, Sunnyside. I totally forgot about Banjo-Kazooie. Because I didn't play it as a kid. I played it later on as like a teenager or like I think in my early 20s as a ROM. I like played it with an emulator. So it's not like it doesn't have the same place in my memory, but it is a fantastic 3D platformer. It's like the quintessential 3D platformer. You can tell I mean even just Banjo-Kazooie alone, you can tell the developers were deeply passionate about the game they were working on. They added so many little puzzles and nooks and crannies and mini games. All the characters were just these like the 3D artist was talented but like had fun doing what they were doing, creating these
oh yeah.
funny squishy characters with bulging eyeballs and animating them. It was just fun. That game is like the quintessential essence of fun.
Did you ever play Banjo Tooie, its sequel?
I played it, but I didn't get far into it. I don't think I beat either one. Um, Banjo-Tooie, I think I got to I'm trying to remember, it was like an Aztec
Yes.
kinda world. Do
Yeah,
you
that was
remember
one of
like
the
a
first world in the game.
Oh,
It's
I'm so sorry.
no, that's fine. But no, I just really like Banjo Tooie a lot. It's one of my favorites, and it's one that I still occasionally like, play. Just to kind of wander around the world and have fun in. Um, Now, my top one, my number one favorite 3D platformer is
Ooh.
probably Super Mario Sunshine for the GameCube.
Oh, yes. I didn't even think to include that, but I played that as a kid. That was one of my favorites. I spent countless hours of my childhood playing that game.
It's probably my favorite 3D Mario platformer because it's like all the moves that you have in Mario 64, the physics of Mario 64 now add a water-powered jetpack to it.
It's amazing. It's
I know. I love it.
such a satisfying mechanic, and you get that little bit of what do you I don't know. There's like a visceral satisfaction of just cleaning up messes. That's why people play Pressure Wash Simulator. Um,
Yeah.
just seeing the slime get removed as you spray it was pretty satisfying. But
I
that
always
game was
thought the slime looked like hot chocolate.
yeah, like depending on the colors, they were really satisfying colors. The shaders for the slime too, and
Yeah.
the design for just some of the platforming challenges was so creative. One thing that stands out in my memory was it was like a water park or a theme park.
Yeah.
And do you remember like this structure? It was like a tall structure with like a glass side, and you could go up into it, and start platforming inside of it, and it like physically didn't make sense, but it belonged in that world. You know what I mean? And
Yes,
I
yes.
swear I have dreams about that place.
I just really like Isle of Defino. I just thought that it was a beautiful island.
It
It
is.
felt like it felt like a real place that you could visit almost, you know. And especially I love
Yeah.
how interconnected like the
Connect
world.
with how barren the castle in Mario 64 was.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right. That
yeah,
place feels
It
lively.
didn't even have furniture.
yeah.
Did she just have a separate castle for all of her paintings, according to at least one Nintendo letter?
I guess so. That was her art
Apparently.
gallery. Her cursed art gallery. Um,
But
Uh,
yeah, one of the things I loved was like you'd be like in one level and you would look out into the skybox and you can see like the other areas of Isla de Fio
oh,
in the
that was cool.
distance. And I would sometimes actually like try to like physically go there, like like maybe if I just start swimming, I can like get to the amusement park
Yep.
from like this one beach or something. And of course, you couldn't, but it was such convincing illusion that it was all one big interconnected
It is.
world. Now, funny enough, there is actually a ROM hack for Mario Sunshine called Mario Eclipse that actually does kind of interconnect all the levels,
What?
turn it into a giant sandbox of
Ooh,
sorts.
that's so cool. I got so many thoughts about Mario Sunshine. The one level where you start on the beach and then you make your way into a hotel. And then in that hotel, there's this one mission where you hop from room to room. That was the coolest thing ever to me as a kid. That was like the most clever storytelling through game design, just like feeling like you're entering all these rooms and each one has a purpose. People were living in it. And it was so clever to find your way out of each room. Um and I got so many thoughts. The first thing that comes to mind, I have mad respect for the what do you call them? There were like bonus worlds or platforming challenges. You know what I mean? You're like floating in space. That was so cool. They did an incredible job on that. I couldn't get enough of it. I would revisit those over and over just to speed run them. Um, and I really want to get your thoughts on the mystery of Mario Sunshine. Did you ever experience playing through that and just wanting to get into something and you couldn't?
Well, I mean, sure, there were some shops I wanted to get into in Defino Plaza.
Yeah, yeah, there was. Um, there were a few things that come to my mind. One is I'm trying to remember the name of the level, but do you remember it was like a spire, a big conch shell spire kind of level?
I think so. I can't remember its name though.
Yeah, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
There was a special level in that where you're inside of a giant glass bottle filled with
Oh
water.
yeah, yeah. And then there's like a little house at the bottom with a door, and if you like look at a certain angle, you can see that there's a book on the other side of
Yes.
that door.
What is that? It was so mysterious
oh,
to
I
me.
remember. I remember seeing that.
Yeah, I would clip the camera in through the door and I'm like, how do I get in there? I need that book. What is it? It's so mysterious. I never got an answer. I'm gonna look it
Well,
up right now. I need an
To
answer.
battle, or I think it was just regular SA2. Actually, they mostly cut the big Easter eggs in the GameCube version. So
yeah. Um,
actually, that's kind of a quintessential staple of any given like 3D platform, or just things you cannot reach and yet are there for some reason.
mhm.
Like,
Oh yeah, like
oh,
Banjo-Tooie. Banjo-Tooie's like has quite a few like that. There's like they have like this one area. It's near a level called Grunty's Industries, and there's like this huge door that's like completely 3D modeled. It's not like a texture or anything. It's just like this huge 3D modeled door, and you can like go back to like a decade of old, just dozens of different forum posts are all wondering like, what's on the other side of that 3D model door? Like, is there any way to open it? And the truth is, no. It's just they just decided to 3D model that particular object instead of making it a texture.
I
amazing.
I just looked it up. What Mario Sunshine? What is the book? The book in Super Mario Sunshine is a mysterious, inaccessible object found inside a rock formation in Noki Bay. It is considered a piece of cut content or an unfinished developer asset visible only by using camera glitches to clip inside the structure. Rumors for years, players speculated this book was part of an unfinished mission or a secret quest for the Noki Elder. So that makes sense. Maybe they planned to do something with it and they experienced a time crunch and decided to cut it.
Well, I know that Mario Sunshine had a pretty messy development history.
Really?
Yes, yes. There's a video. I think I actually sent it to you like maybe a year or so ago that basically kind of went over like the development history of Mario Sunshine. Basically, when did Mario Sunshine come out? Did it come out in 2003 or
I
2?
think it was 2.
Okay. Well, basically,
Yeah,
the
too.
2001 build of Mario Sunshine is almost a completely different game than what we finally got in 2002.
Wow.
I
It's
mean,
kind of like
sure, there's
Half-Life.
a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's like there's quite a few things that are still obviously carried over from the 2001 to 2002, but like for example, the Plaza was completely different. There was actually a
Oh,
train that you went from like world to world. You actually
whoa.
visited the different worlds by train, and there was also instead of at Mario actually like the hub was originally going to be a hotel in Defino Plaza, and there was actually going to be um other humans in Defino Plaza, including Pauline.
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
huh.
And but yeah, there was like a lot of stuff that radically changed in just a year between like the previews and trailers in 2001 to the final release in 2002. Um yeah.
Wow. I guess they just opted to swap out the NPCs for the generic fat Squidward characters. The vacationers just
Uh,
for simplicity's sake.
Well, it's also because originally Mario Sunshine was envisioned as going to be a spin-off title. And then, like, around 2002, they realized that no, this isn't going to be a spin off title. This is going to be the mainline 3D Mario platformer for the GameCube. And so that basically caused them to reevaluate a lot of what they were making and kind of pivoted into a different direction.
What do you mean a spin-off title?
Basically, well, they weren't thinking that, oh yeah, this is basically our next step towards after Mario 64. They were thinking more like this is a side game, and
Well,
instead of
it
thinking
became a
like,
major staple.
yeah, instead of becoming like one of the major staples. It's kind of like how originally Resident Evil 3 Nemesis was envisioned to be a side game, and then it eventually became like a mainline entry in the series.
Okay. Well, that kind of brings me to a point. One of the most important 3D platformers that I actually haven't played, y'all might cringe at this, Mario Galaxy. I haven't played it, but it is widely considered one of the best 3D Mario platformer games. And it looks incredible. Like from a programming perspective, I've done experiments in Godot to try to uh, do a raycast from the player to detect the normal of the face under you and get the cross product and all this vector math, and it's so wildly complicated, and recalculate the gravity, and it's beyond complicated. That was a feat of engineering they accomplished with Mario Galaxy.
I've only played a little bit of Mario Galaxy. I never really got that far into it because, well, it wasn't Mario 64 and Mario Sunshine. It was different.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's fair. You didn't grow up with it. You grew up with the other ones.
yeah. Um. So,
Same. It was like
Puffle.
after my time, kind of.
Yeah. So, Puffle, why don't you share your three now?
so I'm thinking it over, and I'm realizing a lot of like the more popular, famous ones are just ones that completely slipped me by. So what I'm instead going to do, instead of my personal top 3, because I just have not played enough of them to form like a super authoritative opinion about which ones I would like the best, I'm going to go for 3 deep cuts that I actually have played.
All right, give
Okay.
us the deep
So
cut.
you're going to raise an eyebrow at this first one. Glover.
Gotta love the glove.
Like
Glover.
I'll specify that it's specifically the PlayStation version, just
Interesting.
because that one is less sadistically designed, slightly.
Yes,
Like
but I think it was like
the
not as well received either.
yeah,
I wish I
because like
played Glover. That looks like a really good game.
yeah, like Glover, the N64 version is good, but it does have like noteworthy like camera and controls jank that the PlayStation version, if I remember right, does even out a bit. But like the overall concept and design is fantastic. Like the it's not just like, oh, you climb on a thing and then like you are now playing that thing with the same controls as everything else. No, like your dude is rolling on a ball and it has the physics and inertia of a ball that you have to account for when you are moving around.
Hmm.
You have to also like dribble to like jump. You don't just go boing unless you
That is
do, but
that's pretty
you're jumping
interesting.
off the ball in that case.
Hmm.
Like if you want to get that ball somewhere, you have to dribble it. Like
Oh,
you
okay.
have to.
So Pavel, please explain to me the game loop because I am totally unfamiliar with this game. I'm just vaguely aware it is a game and it exists, but I don't actually know what the game loop is. How do you like get through a level? What is the gameplay? What are your goals?
So the main gimmick is that there are balls. Like they all
Balls.
have different. You were playing as a glove, and there are balls, and they all have different properties. Like one is lighter, one is bouncier, one is heavier. Like
Okay.
you look at any number of different kinds of balls, and they have the properties that you would think they would.
Hmm.
Like beach balls, bowling balls, basketballs. Just that is the game's entire gimmick. You are navigating with those.
And what's the
In a
goal? Like
way,
you can move around
the
without the
controls are
ball?
a lot like Super Monkey Ball, but in reverse,
Hmm.
kind of. More
In
finicky because,
reverse.
again, you are not controlling the ball itself, you are controlling the little hand dude on top of the ball who is running on.
Oh man. So
Like,
what
it is a very cerebral game in the sense that you have to wrap your head around what you are playing because that's not just a visual flair. That is the game's physics. Sorry, Rumi is getting something out of the freezer.
Oh, that's all good. That's actually pretty cool. I like the fact that it is cerebral. It requires you to think while you're playing it. So what's the goal? Do you have to get the
Yeah.
ball into a hole like golf or something?
Uh, if I remember right, it's mostly just a means of transportation, but there are like parts of the game where you do. Like it's been years since I played this, but I do remember like there were puzzles where you had to get the ball to a certain location to win that particular level.
I
I
I
can't
love
read
that
lips. Sorry.
I love that a discussion on 3D platformers is forcing us to really draw on our memories because all the 3D platformers we played were, like, in our early childhood, so we're having to, like, really draw on our memories and our experiences of playing through these, but it's actually a really cool experience. I'm revisiting a lot of memories through this process.
Right?
It's kinda therapeutic.
Yeah.
Alright,
So
And
what's your next 2 picks?
what's deep cut number 2?
so I'm going to go with less of a deep cut for this one because it was a very popular game during the 2000s. But aside from like an elite core of speedrunners, like it's not talked about much today. It's the SpongeBob one. It's Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Oh, I played that, dude. That was actually a good
Yes,
game. I'm not even a big fan of
yes.
SpongeBob. I think he's annoying, but like that was a really cool game. As a platformer, there were some really cool platforming challenges in that game.
You know, I have never played
Right?
Battle for Bikini Bottom.
You would love it,
Oh my
Sunnyside.
god. You should. It's a ton of fun. It has everything you could want in a collectathon platformer. Like, you know, the thing where you have multiple play styles where like your dude will completely change up his control scheme because suddenly he's turned into a bowling ball or whatever. Like the game has that. You have like, oh, was there an aerodynamic form that SpongeBob had at some point?
Maybe?
I can't remember. My honestly, the only thing I remember about that game, because it's been decades since I played it, was um a challenge level that was in like a saloon, and there was a bunch of floating crates and they were moving around or something. Do
Oh,
you
that was
remember this?
Sandy's dream sequence, I think.
Maybe that was it. I remember it was so much
Maybe.
fun. It was really challenging to coordinate your movement with all these moving parts. Um,
Yeah.
I gotta say, I don't know if this counts as a 3D platformer, so please forgive me. But this reminds me of a very cherished game of my childhood with my Game Boy Advanced, sitting through
Oh.
whatever I was sitting through with my parents and just sitting there, and I had my Game Boy, I would whip it out, was SpongeBob Super Sponge for the Game Boy Advanced. That was a really good platformer.
Oh. Oh my god, I had the PlayStation version of that.
Oh,
Do you know
wow!
that the Silent Hill guy did the music for that?
Silent Hill guy, really?
Akira
Yeah.
Yamamoka?
Yeah. He did
You
the
know my
soundtrack
name.
for SpongeBob Super Sponge.
I didn't know that, but literally the theme song on the title menu is like it has a permanent residence in my memory as a really special song. That song is really well composed. The way the melody traverses up and down through these different chords, and it's in major tones, and it like switches it up to minor at just the right intervals. I haven't heard anything like it other than this very obscure band, Los Indios Tabajara. An interesting side story, if y'all will excuse this. This group is a couple of brothers, Los Indios Tabajara. They were they grew up out in the remote regions of the Amazon rainforest, and there were I believe it was the Brazil military in the 50s was doing a like a what do you call it? I'm having a brain fart. Where you take a tally of all the residents that live in an area. I keep wanting to say
Census?
consensus. Is it a
I think it's
consensus?
census.
A census. Thank you.
Census, not con, just census.
Okay, okay.
CENUS.
So the Brazilian military was taking a census of like the different tribes living in the Amazon, and they found this one tribe. There was one guy in the group who had an acoustic guitar, and he was playing it, and he left it behind with the tribe. And these two brothers found the acoustic guitar, and they just thought the romantic Spanish flamenco music this Brazilian military man was playing was so romantic. They tried their best to recreate it from memory, and they took the acoustic guitar and traveled all the way uh, to Rio, which was a several month journey on foot. They showed up in the city and were promptly arrested for being in public butt naked, and they adapted to modern civilization and ended up becoming the greatest acoustic guitar players in history. I would totally recommend listening to their music. It's beautiful and moving. They play like their own unique classical music on the acoustic guitar. It's very like emotional, but the SpongeBob Super Sponge soundtrack kind of approximates that. It's like this really special region of imagination, and I want to know like what was that artist thinking to come up with that?
Wow.
I don't know. Maybe Taro Yamaoka might be familiar with it. Like,
Maybe.
he might have been. Huh?
Maybe.
Maybe.
So what's your third pick?
Yeah, what's your third pick?
Oh, sorry. I was still elaborating on SpongeBob.
Okay,
Let's
what
see.
other thoughts do you have on SpongeBob? I would love to hear them.
So, as I was saying, it had everything you could want in a 3D platformer and was also a quintessential SpongeBob game. Like, everything that you could think of from the show was present in some form or another. You could visit all of the iconic locations. You had, like, you couldn't play as Squidward, but 2 out of the 4, like, main cast, Squidward was intended to be playable at one point. Uh,
I relate with Squidward
the
so much.
We all
Same.
do. He is the voice of our generation.
Yes.
The Everything was there. Like, you had throwbacks to episodes like Bubble Buddy, who was just an NPC that showed up sometimes. You had, like, the beach episode. That was a location that you could visit. You had King Jellyfish as a boss. You had just every possible thing that you could
Nice.
think of to want in a SpongeBob game from that period was present. And
King
it ruled.
King
So,
Jellyfish was a boss in SpongeBob Super Sponge, and it was a bullet hell.
Oh, that's right. I remember that.
so
And both
would
games,
you
both.
would you
Sorry, go
recommend
on.
like the original version of Battle for Bikini Bottom or that remaster re-release?
Remaster
Have not
re-release.
played the remaster one, actually. I've only played the OG.
I'm not aware of this.
Oh yeah, there was a remaster a while back.
I'm
It's
just gonna say
like, I think
always.
it looks good. I think the aesthetics are good, but they went way too aggressive on the bloom lighting.
I'm gonna say always go with the original, which sucks for me because I'm working on a remaster of Half-Life Opposing Force. But with that said,
Oh.
when we finally release the game in 2050, um, just play the original. Don't even bother buying our game.
Well, yeah, I've been waiting on your guys' remaster since about 2011.
Wow,
Oh my goodness.
that was before I joined. I joined in 2012. I've been working on this game for over a decade. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 14 years I've been working on this game. And we are so frustrating. We are so close to release and not even close to release at the same time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
oh,
You always find
I
one more bug to squash.
yes, it's man. So I'm sorry. I don't want to derail the conversation.
You're
Um,
good.
the so uh, Paphvul, I got to ask you: have you played Half-Life Opposing Force?
I have not played any of the Half-Lives yet.
Ooh, gotta add that to your roster if you can get around to it.
Yeah,
I know
I
you're a busy
I did not really
person.
play. I did not really play a lot of PC games growing up.
That's fair. You were a console
Except,
gamer.
yeah, except, funnily enough, I was actually going to go with a completely different deep cut, and I'm still going to mention it here as an honorable mention, just because.
Mhm.
Y'all familiar with Goemon?
Yes.
Say that again.
Goemon.
Mystical
There was
Ninja.
yeah,
No.
yeah, that a couple games on the N64, and I played the Japanese version of the first one back when I was trying to learn Japanese. It's a
Hmm.
fun little game with a really, really cute storyline that I had a lot of fun mostly deciphering. There's a lot of creative boss fights in that. Like,
Huh.
there's this one like yokai, this one ghost story that it's about this one woman who I think she was killed and thrown down a well for something involving dishes. Like, she couldn't find the last dish that she was supposedly killed over or something.
Whoa. That's dark.
And you fight this well ghost that's throwing dishes at you. And if I remember right, you do so while you're on, I believe, a giant mecha dragon while you're doing that.
Wow, that is deeply complex. That's like some Epstein files kind of stuff. Oh,
Right? That
do you?
that game is your Japanese culture deep cuts, and
You
I'm here
are
for it.
you are hitting us with the deep cuts. I got to ask you. I'm looking up just Google Images Goemon N64. It looks like a 3D RPG. It's a 3D platformer. Was there like you're navigating in an open world in 3D and you're jumping around and all that?
Yeah, it was not an RPG, if I remember right. I think maybe you occasionally found little doodads and picked up new abilities, but only in the same sense like you would in something like Banjo, Mario.
Mhm.
Like
I
Yeah.
gotta
it
play
was
this
not
game.
It has a very
wasn't
samey sense of humor.
So
very.
you've played it, Sunnyside?
No, I haven't played it, but a PC recomp of it has come out recently, and I downloaded that.
Oh,
So you have played it.
But no, I haven't played. I played long enough to make sure it was working, and that's about it.
Okay, that's fair. Man,
oh, but
I have to play this game. You introduced me to a game I have to play. I'm looking at
Yeah.
images of
it
this.
is amazing.
It
Like
is amazing just
the
from the images.
the controls and gameplay are okay. Like, I'll admit that as a game, it's jank, but you're not there for the gameplay. You are there for the writing, the environments, the absurd and fun bosses and cultural references. You are there because it's Goemon.
Yeah.
Oh
So
man.
that you said that was the honorable mention. What is your third pick?
That doesn't even count.
Honorable mention just because it's very quick and I'm going to gloss right over it. Mario
What?
Odyssey.
Oh,
Mario Odyssey. Um, I have
Like,
not played that. That's on the Switch, right?
yeah.
yeah,
I haven't played it
How
either.
like,
But
how is it?
really? Probably a good thing it's not my third pick then, because I would have just had to rattle
That's
off stuff
another
from memory.
that's another honorable mention.
Yeah, because there's not a lot you can say about Mario Odyssey other than game good, expands on previous Mario platformers, and go play. Like,
yeah,
I don't
I
think
mean,
I can say anything else that hasn't been said.
yeah,
Third
it's
pick. Third pick.
basically kind of revisits the gameplay style of Mario 64 and Sunshine, but with a mind control mechanic with the hat.
Yeah, and like the worlds are a
Okay.
lot more open. Like instead of distinct missions you go on one by one, it's every world is like an open world where you could just do things in whatever order. I think I still need to play Jack and Daxter. I have the disc right on my
Oh,
table right here.
dude. You gotta play Jack and Daxter. At the
I
very
know.
least, Jack and Daxter 1, you gotta beat it. You gotta get all the way through it.
I
It is
know.
that was my honorable mention. That was my number 4 on my list was Jack and Daxter. It's late in the game. It was towards the end of the 3D platformers like era, but that game is amazing. It's how do I articulate this? It almost ushers in the new era of video games. Like they pushed the boundaries of 3D platformers so far that they almost created a new genre, which was like, I don't know, open world video games. Which I don't know if you can consider it open world. I would, but it's a 3D platformer. Um, it's seamless. There are no loading screens. Somehow it loads everything in as you're navigating through the world, which
Mhm.
is programming magic. They had some real nerds working on their team, and you start in the like initial village, all these cliffs. There's a farmer. There's a guy with a muse. You go through a lava world. There's this village that was disrupted by a storm. Oh man, I wish I could just download all the information from my brain directly into yours via psychic connection, but you're just gonna have to play it.
I mean, you're just not trying.
Yeah. So, let's kind of go back to
Okay.
around the mid to late 90s.
But
Uh,
wait, I'm
what?
sorry, Sunnyside, but Paphvul never gave us his official third top game. He only gave us his
So, okay, I actually have it this
his honorable
time
mentions.
because you mentioning like long running. Is it a fan project or
Hmm.
for Half-Life?
Oh, Operation Black Mesa. Yeah, it's so it started as a mod many years ago, like 2008. I joined in
Oh,
2012. Um, and it is an official game. We were licensed by Valve. Our project
that is
manager,
awesome.
Antonin, he goes by Mr. Sugar. He actually paid a great deal of money with the help of some others for the license for the IP and the physics engine, which was I don't know, some ridiculous amount of thousands of monies. And
My God.
he did it. Now he's working full time as a train operator. Um, we all work full time, and we work on it in our spare hours every now and then. Uh, and we're chipping away at it. The project we got most of the maps complete, but we're making progress every day and every week. But here's the thing: this is no way to make a game of this caliber because a AAA studio has a budget of millions of dollars. So you can have a crew of people, like several people who are working together. They're getting paid full time, so that's their job. Imagine your day job. You're clocking in and you're just working on this one thing all day, 8 hours or whatever, 10 hours, totally in the zone, unbroken concentration. When you do this for a few hours at the night, a few days a week, your concentration's broken. And I actually have a very personal rant I would like to go on here, which is a very deep life lesson, and it's about momentum. Um, when you break your momentum, imagine you're driving a truck carrying a heavy load, and you're going up a hill, and you start at the base of the hill, and you just push on the gas, and you start going up the hill. You'll make it up like a quarter of the way, and you'll stop, and you'll start going backwards. So you're gonna back up, and start accelerating and get enough momentum to get up the hill, and maybe we'll get halfway. This is what happens when you're working on it, like on an indie level on a video game. Um, you need to build up momentum. You need to make small accomplishments that give you confidence and in understanding of where you're at. But if your project is overscoped and too complicated, you need an entire day just to gather gather your thoughts and remember where you're at and kind of situate yourself. And by the time you've done that, your time is up. And maybe tomorrow you're too busy. Maybe the next day you can get back to it. And at that point, you're like that semi truck getting a quarter of the way up the hill. That is dev hell. And I hate to say it, but that is something like Operation Black Mesa. It is a AAA quality game, realistic graphics, a full-fledged first-person shooter experience, but a handful of people working on it in their spare time. With that said, we're making great progress. It's actually tremendously exciting. I had to get the bad news out of the way first, but uh, we've got great plans for the last chapter of the game where you go to Zen and you fight the gene worm, and I don't know what I'm allowed to say in public because I signed a non-disclosure agreement. I'll just hint at maybe you drive a tunnel boring machine into the gene worm and zap into the portal and get a glimpse of
Oh,
the
that is
Race X
cool.
world.
Yeah.
Um, I'll leave it at that. We're making progress. We still got a lot of levels that are pretty rough, work in progress. And our biggest hurdle is we desperately need animators to animate characters. it's way over all of our head because everything is so specialized. It takes a lifetime to like specialize in even one discipline. I've specialized as a 3D artist and a 3D environment artist, so I can take what a level designer makes and polish it up and make it look pretty and add props and all that. Um, an animator, that's a whole other discipline. There's so much to it. And a programmer, we really need programmers, which good news, we might have 2 programmers joining our team. As of
That-
right now, they're in the test phase.
That's all good. You know, maybe you don't even need animators. Just leave all the NPCs T-posing. That way they can assert their dominance over the aliens.
I like that. You know what? Let's just do it. Let's do
Yeah.
it. We're just going to do it.
So, you were kind of leading to somewhere, Paphvul, about your
Yeah.
third choice.
Where are you going with
Right. So, long-running fan game projects. I think you know this one, Sonny. It's Sonic Roboblast 2.
that? Yes, thank you. Someone mentioned it. Yes.
Yes. It's weird, right? It is a fan game built on the Doom engine of all things. Like, it should not work. It's Sonic on the Doom
But it
engine, and
does.
somehow they made it work. They not only made it work, they've been making it work for some 20 odd years now.
Yeah, because it
I
got
ha-
started in 1999.
Yep.
Dude, I have strong, deeply passionate feelings about RSB2.
Yes.
That was my first that was my first computer game I got really into as a kid. I played Sonic Roboblast 2. I don't know how the heck I found it, but I did. That introduced me to Half-Life because there was a mod that got me into the modding scene. I would identify more as a modder than a programmer. I've recently picked up programming in the Godot game engine. I'm working on a game right now. Transport Seraphim. I won't get too into it because I don't even have a demo yet. But I picked up programming by necessity, but I realized I'm actually a modder by spirit. I realized this recently. I realized the distinction between a modder and a programmer is that a modder takes what already exists and patches it together and modifies it. And that's what I do. I'm an artist. I don't have a super mega brain to be able to like handle creating programming algorithms and all these complex nested recursive functions and stuff that programmers love nerding out over. I can just kind of copy paste and make everything work. And all the smart people have already figured everything out. But Sonic Roboblast 2 got me into modding because I would just download these what were they called? WAD
WADs.
files.
Lots?
Yes. I would download these WADs and there were all these you're bringing back so many memories. Thank you for even mentioning that. There was one, it was like a lost forest level you would go through. Is this big forest with
Ooh.
a thick, dark fog, and there was a creature. It was like a ghoul that would chase you, but it was anywhere in the map, and it was a really big map. It was like max boundaries.
Was it a Slender Clown?
Probably before that was a thing. It was just a floating
Fair.
ghoulish face, and it would chase after you and make this like creepy siren screeching sound. But in multiplayer,
Oh.
you're all there and you're dispersed. And someone added a mod to it, which was fast zombies, and I didn't know what a fast zombie was. And I was introduced, and I was like, "This is the coolest thing ever." It's so scary, but it's like freaking awesome. It's a zombie that's just like this skeletal figure, flayed flesh that just lunges after you. It just sprints really fast, crawling on the ground, and leaps into the air. It can climb up walls. And so I
This
looked
was
up
a
what is
mod
this
in
from?
Sonic Roboblast?
It was just like these you know that Doom style, the 3D sprites.
Yeah.
And I looked it up and I realized it's from a game called Half-Life 2. So I looked up Half-Life 2, played it, modded the crap out of it. I looked up console commands, I would no clip around. I would find commands to bind enemies, to spawn them and start spawning enemies and do my thing. Then I found Gary's mod, got into Gary's mod, and before you knew it, I got into Half-Life 1 and I was hooked. It was all over.
Yeah.
But Sonic Roboblast 2 still has a thriving community. Give
Mhm.
me a moment here. I'm going to do a little research, but there was a mod I really want to give a shout out to. I just got to remember the name, but it's definitely an honorable mention. But I want to give the mic back to you, Paphvul.
All right. So, yeah, I remember every so often I would still like revisit the game and see what they've added, because like you remember like back in the 2000s before the game had an ending, it was just like some dude voicing Sonic saying, check out the SRB2 website for news and updates. Like, you remember that, don't you?
Yes.
Yeah. And I was like, oh my god, when is this game ever going to be finished? And now it sort of is, but they still keep adding on to it to this day. Like, it's at the point where, like, they have mods, like, you have a couple mods, like, oh, I completely forget the name of it, but there was this one that basically encompassed the entire history of, like, SRB2's development. You had, like,
What?
entire early levels from, like, very early builds that got cut. Like, there was this mine level that, like, the level design in the early builds was bad. This was like maybe late 90s to early 2000s, way before even I started playing. But there was this cut mine level that there was also a mod that re reimagined that particular reimagined that particular level into something that's actually worth playing. You had a remake of the first Sonic Roboblast in that same like museum mod. You had just all the different iterations of any given level, all the different variants of a given boss fight. It was just the entire development history of SRB2 was just there for you to peruse and play through.
Sounds like a cool mod.
And it is, and I've completely forgotten the name of it.
Well,
And
I haven't played Sonic Robo Blast 2 myself, but I'm very
You
well aware of it,
gotta.
and I've always thought it looked quite amazing, and in some ways better than some of the official Sonic games that come out these days.
It's amazing.
Yeah, but I do actually have it recently installed on my computer, and I'm planning on playing it in the future. One mod that really impressed me that was like a mod for Sonic Robo Blast was Robotnik's Ring Racers, which was basically
oh, I know that.
yeah,
It's Mario
it
Kart.
yeah, it's basically Sonic Mario Kart on the Doom engine, built on top of the code base of Sonic Robo Blast 2.
As you do.
Yeah, and Magma, if
It's a
you've never
total
played it
conversion
before, you might
mod.
want to what?
It's a total conversion mod of a total conversion mod.
Yeah,
That's beautiful.
yeah. So, I kind of want to move the topic to the next one.
All right.
If we go back to the mid to late '90s, when everything was switching over from 2D to 3D, I wanted to ask you, why did gaming switch to 3D platformers, and what is some of the pros and cons of switching over to 3D and 3D gaming environments? Because as they say, some franchises had a bit of a rough transition to 3D. Some did it quite well, some did it worse. What did we gain or lose during that transitionary period? What are
I
some of the
know that
benefits?
people say Sonic had a rough transition, but honestly, she looks gorgeous.
Yes. I I'm sorry, Sunnyside, because I want to address your question, but I have to address Paphvul here. I actually found it, and I tagged both of you in the guest speakers channel. I
Okay.
found the mod. It's called Solstensancia. Um, I had trouble finding
Oh,
it because I could not remember that name. The screenshots don't do it credit, but there are hand-drawn custom characters all throughout the world, several dozen characters, and you're running through. It's such a personalized experience. It's like beginning to end, a whole single-player journey adventure. Um, you go through a university and there's students everywhere. You go through like a shopping mall or something. You go through suburbs, and then like
Ooh.
in between the suburbs through this like sewage kind of area. I don't know how to describe it. It's so good. I don't think I've ever experienced in any other video game format such an artistic expression of someone's like personal inner world that they wanted to express through a video game. It's really good.
Oh, I've seen this. Gorgeous.
You got to play through it. You'll love it. I promise. Um, with that said, so Sunnyside, forgive me. Your question was what was lost from the transition between 2D games to 3D?
Well, just kind of that transitionary period in general. What was some of the benefits and what was some of the consequences of gaming switching over to 3D? And why did the industry switch so hard into 3D platforming and the like?
All right, I've got an immediate answer for this. It's complicated, but it's what people want. People want 3D worlds. It's very appealing and tantalizing to experience a 3D world. It's more catered to our perception as three-dimensional time-space creatures interacting in this 3D infinite universe, and it's just more relatable, I guess. But what was lost is the ease of making a video game. 2D games are relatively easy to make, and I say that with the caveat that they are complicated enough. Learning the programming required to make a two-dimensional game, that's your starting point if you're trying to learn to make video games. You have to learn so much. Once you choose an engine, if you choose an engine, and an engine makes it easy because people have already figured out all the complicated stuff and they have libraries of all these functions and variables you can draw on. But once you move over to 3D, you got to deal with 3D vector math and you have to contend with cross products and it gets so complicated so fast. Overwhelming for one person to make. And so you need a team of people. And not only that, you more likely need a team of people working full time on that. And for that, you need money, you need funds. So you need a publisher to publish your project so you can work full time, but then you have a deadline, you got to crunch on it. It gets infinitely complicated, whereas a 2D game is so simple and it's beautiful in that sense because today you can still pick up a game engine like Godot or Unity, learn how to make a 2D game, Game Maker, whatever. You can follow the advice of other people, which is what people have always done. I mean, we all measure our greatness because we stand on the shoulders of giants, right? Like anyone who's done programming, they've just learned from masters, and anyone who's a better programmer might be maybe a little more autistic or something, or maybe has a brain that's primed to handle that. We're not all built the same. I struggle to handle complex algorithms and stuff, but anyone who's gotten good at programming has been able to learn from others who can share their knowledge. But nowadays we have the internet and you can find solutions whatever you want to do as long as you can articulate the right question and you can ask it, you can find an answer. 2D games are beautiful because you can make them, and what was lost is that simplicity of just making a game. And I feel like indie games are making a huge comeback. They're having a resurgence because I don't know, AAA games, they've become so overcomplicated and kind of bloated. The bar has been set so high. It's almost impossible to make a AAA game unless you have millions and millions of dollars worth of a budget and hundreds of people working for you, and a strict deadline, and only the most talented, skilled people working for you. It's kind of crazy. And so there's something beautiful about indie games, 2D indie games, that the average layman, you and me, can just make a game. I'm an artist. I'm not even a programmer, but I can just look up whatever I want to do, copy and paste, get advice, and just kind of make it work. And that's what was lost. You saw this explosion of diversity of games in the 2D era. And in the early 3D era, that was still there. Like what we grew up with, there was this incredible diversity of games. But as we got older into the modern day, that doesn't seem to be there anymore. It's all kind of narrowed down. Same with the internet as a whole, but that's a different subject. But everything is kind of narrowed down, and I want to see a comeback. I want to see a return to that endless diversity of like personal websites, but also personal video games where everything is just easier to do because the bar is set low enough that the average person can approach it.
I
And
know. I love trawling through old shareware disks the same way I love trawling through itch.io because like
Yeah.
they're the same mentality.
Yes.
yeah. So, Paphvul, do you have anything you want to add to that particular topic?
Oh yeah. So what was lost? To be honest,
What was gained, what was lost, benefits, why did the industry change to 3D so
well,
hard?
I can already I can already say exactly why the industry changed. It's because the tech was finally there. Like the PlayStation came out and suddenly like anybody could include polygons and such in their games. Anybody could make a 3D game without too much fuss. Like it was to the point where you had entire like people could buy like hobbyist death kits for the PlayStation over in Japan, and you would get these big discs full of little games that people made for it just in their spare time. And they were all 3D and varying levels of quality, but they all had like that particular creative passion to them, except now they were in 3D because anybody could do it at that point. Like the tech was advanced enough that you could use it, but it was simple enough that you could use it. Like it had that perfect Goldilocks kind of ease of use. And you see that with a lot of like 3D based indie games that mimic the PlayStation polygonal aesthetic because like it's easier to model in. It's easier to do textures
Yeah.
for because like it's all very low res, low poly. Like you don't need to have a whole lot of time to model something complex. You can just like have a bunch of little squiggles in the rough shape of your dude and it will be a character. You can
Mhm.
have like you have entire horror games like Puppet Combo alone is a massive cottage industry of like quick little cheap horror games. You have all of these surrealist homages like the PlayStation X horror demo disc. I forget the name of it. It was called Haunted PS1 Horror Disc. Haunted PS1 Demo Disc is what it was called. I don't know if they still do it, but it's a game jam kind of thing where people would, submit their demos for whatever they've got in progress. And if it's like PlayStation or N64 ish themed, you can have your own game be demoed in one of those.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that's about where that particular rant was ending.
Okay.
That's beautiful, and you bring up a very strong argument there. I think that's why we had such a proliferation of very original and creative game designs in the late 90s, early 2000s is because of the limitations of the hardware, you could only get away with making a low poly character and low resolution textures. And so it was easier to do. You could iterate faster. Now the bar's set so high, like for Operation Black Mesa, to make a simple prop like a chair or a coffee maker in an office or something like that, it's a week worth of work at least to get the PBR textures right in Substance Painter and to get the model the right fidelity and the right poly count and all that and generate LODs and everything's so complicated.
Yeah.
At the time, like that's why we have Banjo Kazooie.
Yeah. One thing is, just briefly touch on that is like even just looking at like source engine projects from like the ones that look from like today to the ones that came out around like 2004, 2005, it's night and day. Same engine, but the level of detail, and the models, environments, and things like that is night and day.
Yeah, and
um,
like, oh, go on.
yeah. So I think a good next topic, a good thing to maybe discuss next is, with everything kind of, we talked earlier about how to define a 3D platform and stuff. What do you think is the key elements that make a 3D platformer good? Like, what was some of the things that a lot of the more successful 3D platformers had in common? Or what was some things that were like, different or stood out about like some of the 3D platformers? If you were going to like, I don't know, explain a 3D platformer to people and what you think are like some of the key elements to them, what do you think they would be?
It would be the controls and physics, hands down. Like, the first thing before they did anything else with Mario 64 was just spent, like, oh, I don't know if it was weeks or months, but they just had this little test area and they spent a long time just making sure Mario felt right to control before they did anything else in the game. And that's like the key thing in a 3D platformer. It is a very, I don't know if visceral is the right term, but it is very much a feelings based kind of game. It has to feel right and satisfying. Your character has to animate the right way. Like, when you stop, do you just stop on a dime, or does he have like a little moment where your dude has to like skid to a stop, and how long does that take? How responsive is the jumping? What is the like physics of said jump? Because you can't just go up and down in the same like momentum. You have to actually have a, if I remember correctly, the ascent is often slower than the descent in something like Mario, isn't it?
Okay. Yeah. Magma, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I would say visceral is a very appropriate term to use. At the time, the focus on games was making it a game, making it fun to play, and there was into the late 2000s this shift in focus on technical capabilities, making the game realistic and believable, and that little spark of magic was lost in just making a game for fun's sake. But that is what's beautiful about something like Mario 64 or Sonic Adventure 2 Battle or Spyro. That's what's so fun about Spyro. It's not realistic. The graphics aren't incredible. It was the bare minimum of articulating what you wanted to express as an artist. And as a player, it left some to the imagination. I know this isn't a platformer, but in Ocarina of Time or Majora's Mask or even Wind Waker, when you saw a texture card, just a tiling texture of trees, you knew there was a forest behind that area. And that's the case with so much in these games. There's enough left to the imagination that your imagination is actually working to fill in the blanks. And because your mind is working harder, it's more of an internal experience when everything is fully fleshed out in a beautiful 3D world. It's all kind of already there, so your imagination isn't doing that kind of work. But now there's all these standards on making an Unreal Engine third person character controller where you can run around and climb and shift across walls and all this kind of stuff. And all these mechanics, like, they look cool technically, but it's not as satisfying to play through. Something like Spyro is a lot of fun to play just because you can sprint really fast, jump around, break open these containers, defeat enemies, collect all the collectibles in the collectathon, and beat the level.
Yeah, Spyro is actually a perfect example of what I mean. Like, the little dude just zips around the terrain effortlessly. Like,
Yeah,
you are you are a cat with zoomies throughout the entire game, basically.
pretty much.
Sometimes Spyro actually moves faster than Sonic does in some of his games.
That's right. It's kind of
Yeah,
funny.
I think like that one treetops bit where you kind of have to do what you would think is a obtuse speedrunning trick, but is actually the intended solution to get that one dragon stuck in that one weirdly specific spot.
Yeah. So, uh, since we talked about so in summation, you feel like that a good use of imagination and a core emphasis of gameplay is the key elements of what makes a good 3D platformer great.
Say that's
Yeah.
two of them. The third is basically level design.
Level design. Yeah,
Okay.
an emphasis on putting your mobility to use. Uh, it's called a platformer because that's the staple of platformers is platforms, and it's because you got to time your jumps and position yourself just right. And usually there's obstacles to dodge. Looking at a classic 2D platformer, there's maybe missiles or swords or something going across the screen. You got to jump over and jump on enemies at just the right interval, and maybe wall bounce or whatever. Um, 3D platformers. It's kind of funny on the topic of Sonic. There was a fan made demo. It was never fleshed out into a full game, unfortunately, but it was called Sonic Utopia. And
I know the one you mean, the open
it
world
really,
one.
yeah, it was literally perfected Sonic controls in a 3D world. Like the camera would shift when you're on a slope, you could go really fast, jump way up in the air. It was a lot of fun, but it was only like kind of a test world as a proof of concept, and it never got past that point. Um,
But I think other games sort of built on it as an example, at least.
like what? Can you think of
Other
any
fan
off the
games.
top of your head?
Ah, I mean, in fairness, I mostly play ROM hacks over fan games.
Have you played Mario 64 ROM hacks?
A few, including B3313.
Okay, that's right. You did mention that. There are some really good ones. There's one guy, I believe his name is Cade Emanuar, makes some
Oh yeah,
incredible
Keiz
ROM hacks.
Emanuar.
Kays, that's
I
what it
love
is.
his
Yeah.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some really good ones. You get so much replayability out of Mario 64. I wanted to mention before I forgot, totally random, but on the topic of Sonic, in Sonic Adventure 2 Battle, uh, in relation to exploiting physics, there was a glitch I discovered as a kid. Um, if you got the power up where you could bounce really fast, uh,
Yeah.
in the Chow Gardens, when you went to you know how there was like a neutral paradise garden, then there was like a heaven garden and a hell garden. In
Yeah,
in the hell garden, if you go up to these rocks in the corner and you bounce really fast and you do your dash, you'll actually jump out of the world and you can float around. You're just like there in a T pose, kind of glitching in the air, and you can kind of shift around and fly out into the skybox and all that. You can actually do that in the normal garden too. I think it was kind of in the corner by the rocks.
I never did that, huh? I might have to try that sometime.
Yeah, it's pretty
Um,
fun.
I know the
so
glitch you mean. Sorry, go on.
no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say the recent re releases of Sonic Adventure 2 have this one specific glitch in Sonic's like final stage where the Chow finding mission, there's a rail that you're supposed to grind up like at a 90-degree angle, but in the re releases, it does not work. Like you you cannot do it the way like you would in the GameCube and Dreamcast version. So you have to use that particular bounce bracelet glitch to get to that particular chow.
Mm, Interesting. So, I know we've kind of talked about this already some earlier, but what do you what happened to the 3D platformer? Why did it go away in the mid to late 2000s?
Well,
Honestly, I think it's a mix of both just oversaturation and just
yeah,
a shift in interest. Like we had stuff like more advanced first person shooters like Crisis. You had more advanced open world type games like Skyrim. You had just a bunch of New Horizons to the point where a 3D platformer almost seemed insignificant by comparison. Like, there was not much in the way of incentive to make those.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Honestly, it's a similar answer to the Valve team when they were asked about why they didn't just make Half-Life 2 Episode 3 right there on the spot. They felt like after Episode 2 they were Half-Lifed out. They had done everything they could do in a Half-Life game. They were just out of steam. They couldn't think of anything new and original to add to that format of game. So they waited, and time's gone by. Maybe in 2300 we'll get Half-Life 3, who knows? But
Yeah.
the point is yeah, you're right. 3D platformers, there was an explosion, a boom of 3D platformers. Everyone did everything they could do, and people kind of ran out of ideas. They're like, it's really just kind of market competition. You release a 3D platformer game, you don't have something super original to offer because what can you offer? People just aren't going to buy it. They're going to buy the new Gears of War first-person shooter game or the new Call of Duty. That was the cutting edge at the time, and I just feel like video games went into a kind of an overcast phase after that. That's at least the way I perceive it. Into the 2010s, the gaming industry took a very different, more serious turn, and I would love to see a return to the roots.
Yeah. I mean, like by the early 2010s, I think the only few platformers that were still coming out was like movie tie-in ones, like I know that
And
Activision
even
pumped out a few in
those,
the early 2010s for like Kung Fu Panda and the like.
Speaking of
are
that,
just kind of petered out. Like, you don't see the archetypal licensed movie game anymore.
yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. That even kind of sputtered out. I do remember back when I was a kid and Blockbuster was still a thing in Hollywood Video, going to one of those stores and renting um a series of unfortunate events platformer game. It was a 3D platformer.
I think it
Um
was for the GameCube, wasn't it?
I
maybe
think
I
it
can't
was
quite
like, I
remember.
think it was multi-platform.
It probably was. I actually beat the whole game 100% in a day. It was very simple to get through. It was a decent platformer. There are a lot of honorable mentions that have fallen through the cracks. I remember my little sisters had a Barbie game that was a 3D platformer. It was like a Barbie Indiana Jones. It was actually a lot of fun.
Was this on the PlayStation 1?
It was.
I think I know the one you're talking about because Kid Icarus talked about it.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So
There's so many games like that. So many hundreds of 3D platformers that we can't even call to mind.
yeah. Uh so in you guys' opinion, is the 3D platforming genre still a viable genre today? And if not, what needs to be done
Absolutely.
to bring it back?
Ooh,
I
that's
would
a
say
really hard
so.
question.
Like, it's not just a matter of, like, oh yeah, indie games and nostalgia. Like, the there are still, because not only the technology but the cultural landscape has shifted to the point where people have new ideas for what any given medium can or cannot be. Like, you look at something like Billy Bust Up and a musical that's also a platformer.
I
It's not
heard about
finished, but
that.
it blends both genre and medium. Like, you don't see like video games in the form of a musical terribly often, let alone done well. But Billy Bust Up seems to be doing it thus far. You have, I personally haven't had the chance to play it yet, but I know a few of the songs, and they are honestly really good. I enjoyed watching a friend play through a bit of Hat in Time from a few years ago. Oh dear God, that was like 9 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah, time flies.
2017?
That to me is still the new indie 3D platformer.
Yeah, same. But like, even then, like, there are new things that one can do with. Oh, and I'm trying to remember. There's this one, like, I don't know what the. It's not casual. It's something. I guess cozy game is what I'd call it. I think that's what someone
Hmm.
called it. And it was like a platformer where there was no like you didn't have a health bar, there were no enemies, but you had a lot of fun platforming challenges and just things you did for the various NPCs. And it had a very Paper Mario esque art style where the characters were all flat sprites against relatively simple but colorfully done environments that you could explore. Like, the cozy game is ideal for 2D platformers. Heck, you could do something like Night in the Woods for a 3D platformer without too much fuss.
Yeah. All right.
I will say, there is a resurgence of indie games making good, dang good 3D platformers. There's a PS1 styled indie Metroidvania called Pseudo Regalia, which is really cool. A total focus on just satisfying controls, tight, punchy movement, jumping around. Um, Psilocybe is another PS1 very Crash Bandicoot styled game where you play as a trippy mushroom character. There's what was it? Super Kiwi, Frogun.
Oh,
Uh, I actually donated to the Kickstarter of Frogun. I was really excited for that. I donated like $10 or something. It's nothing impressive, but
Hey, every
that
little bit
game is
helps, especially when
yeah,
you're
right.
indie dev.
Gotta support the indies when you can.
Yeah.
Frogun actually reached some success. I'm looking on the website gamestats.com. I would totally recommend it if you're curious about the revenue games make. Frogun made $140,000, rough estimate. That's okay. Now, I want to make this point. There was a new 3D platformer that just came out this year. Big Hops, who plays a frog with a stretchy tongue,
Uh-huh.
and that one apparently generated $120,000, which is okay. I mean, obviously, an indie developer who releases a game would only hope for hundreds of thousands or maybe $1 million or something like that. But it does show there's enough people that have a desire for a game like this to play it, but it's still it doesn't have a market. Oh, what's the word I'm looking for?
A huge market.
Yeah, it doesn't have a huge market.
Okay.
is existent.
Yeah.
It
And
is existent.
I will. I want to make one point that I just realized we kind of overlooked.
Hmm.
Sonic exists.
Yeah.
Like, Sonic and Mario have both basically been single handedly carrying the platforming genre. Like, regardless of whether you think any given Sonic game is good, because it does vary a ton, the fact is, like, Sonic has been making regular releases into the not even just 3D, the mascot platforming genre, 3D mascot platforming, just every decade. Every like few years, you get a new Sonic game. You can rely on that being a thing. And I think that is really cool. Like, I think that's something not a lot of people really take a moment to notice. Like,
True. And
if if the if the 3D platformer has any viability, you have Sonic and Mario to thank. Anyway, go on.
that's right. I was just gonna say to that point, we can't give Sonic Roboblast 2 enough praise. That game needs to be on everyone's mind. That is a beautiful achievement. It was just something people were making in their spare time since the late 90s, and they've been wholeheartedly devoted to this project. It's a free game. They're not even doing it for profit. They're just doing it out of pure passion, and so much has come out of it. I mean, the modding community on SRB2 is massive beyond comprehension. There are more levels and WODs you can download for characters and different experiences than you'll ever get through in a lifetime. So that's what I love about modding communities. You open it up to the public, and it's something that everyone's passionate about. There is just infinite diversity that comes as a result of that.
Yeah.
Now, 3D platformers, I do want to give a shout out to Corn Kids 64. I had a lot of fun playing that. I would totally recommend it. It's a recent 2023, October 16th, indie game in the style of like a Banjo Kazooie kind of thing. Really cool, very true to the genre. It's only like 3 levels. You could probably get through it in a day, but it's a beautiful experience.
Yeah, that kind of leads me to my next topic. I know we've kind of touched on it a few times now, but what are some like indie 3D platformers that are either upcoming or currently out here that people that you think that people should check out? I mean, I'm sure it's not exactly a huge market, but in terms of indie 3D platformers, it's still been fairly prolific. There's still new ones coming out that seems like every year. So, what is some that both of you would recommend?
Okay, I have a
Huh.
quick sharpshooter response for this. A short hike. If you haven't played it, you must before you die. It is a quick experience. You could probably play it in a day, but it is, man, I played it with my lady one Christmas, and it was such a precious experience that afterwards I felt kind of depressed because I'm like, I will never play that game for the first time again. You know what I mean? Like you already experienced it. You can't experience it for the first time again. Um, this game actually made $2.8 million as a little indie game, but it's a very short experience, hinted at through the title, A Short Hike. But you play as this little bird character. You hop around, fly around, interact with characters, and complete little side quests, do races and random little things. And as you kind of upgrade your abilities, you can climb higher and higher until you can get cell phone reception. And the game is over. I won't spoil it too much, but that's my like top pick of a recent 3D platformer. That is a must play.
I have not really played very many recent 3D platformers, so I'm going to be a bit esoteric about this one.
Okay.
So I don't know how much it even qualifies. I don't recall if it has a jumping mechanic or not, but through it, it's close enough for the sake of like having something to talk about. I'd
Yeah.
say a friend showed me a few clips from the cutscenes of something called Baby Steps.
Haven't heard of it.
Never heard of it.
Uh, so are you familiar with like Bennett Foddy's work at all? The
Getting
oh, I've
over
completely
your
forgotten the
body, the one where you're like
yeah,
in a
yeah,
bucket.
yeah, and
I'm
over up.
I'm looking it up on GameStats.com, and it looks like a rage bait game, like one of those really difficult to control,
Sort
like a
of.
like Octodad kind of thing.
Yeah, it does like have that is what it is, but the writing, like I'm watching I've been watching the cutscenes for it, and they are relentlessly like awkward, but in a way that is executed to maximum like hilarious effect. Like it is, I think a lot of I know they're all done in one take. I don't know how much improv is done for these cutscenes, but they have this ridiculous vibe of it becomes so awkward and uncomfortable that it breaks the sound barrier into being the funniest thing you will ever see in probably at least this month, if not this year.
Okay.
Like
Well,
minimum, I would say to look up a cutscene compilation. It is worth the maybe 4 hours or so cutscenes that it contains.
okay. So, for me, what I would recommend is a fairly recent indie 3D platformer is Yellow Taxi Go Vroom and um Spark the Electric Jester 3.
Nice.
I don't have either of you played either of those?
No, I have not.
Well, Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom is basically a 3D platformer where you are controlling a taxi cab that can jump and rev up its engine and speed up and stuff. It's pretty creative. Um, and Spark the Electric Jester is a Sonic Adventure 2 inspired 3D platformer with a jester that has electric powers.
Dude, okay, I'm sorry, I was
Heard of
AFK
the
for a moment, but I was still listening. I'm sorry, Paphvul, if you had a thought you
Oh, I
wanted
was just
to.
going to say I've heard of the 2D ones too.
Yeah, I've actually played both of those. Yellow Taxi Goes Vroom, I had so much freaking fun with when I played the demo. It was the first time in a long time I felt that much joy just playing a 3D platformer game. And it's weird to consider it a platformer because you're a car, but that's the whole gimmick is like you rev up and go up a ramp and it's like skateboard physics or something. You fly up and you're like, how do I get to that platformer, to that platform way over there over the ocean? I'll angle it just right and get up to here, then zoom down and land over there. It was just the pure joy of making a video game. There were all these levels and side challenges. Like you go into a house, but the house is like a massive endless house that's not designed like a house. There's ramps and crazy corridors. And then there's crazy platforming challenges similar to the Mario Sunshine challenge levels. It's just a pure video game. It's the essence of video game. Spark the Electric Jester, on the other hand, I played through the 2D platformer and I thoroughly enjoyed it. It was beautiful. The cutscenes and the story that person tried to tell. The 3D game, I have some thoughts on it. I love that the person made it. I feel like unfortunately it was overscoped beyond a single developer's capability of making a game, and they did the best they could, dang it, but it was just like in my playthrough of it, and I didn't get all the way through it, it just felt kind of empty. Like I don't know how to put it. Like they added some kind of how would you describe it, Sunnyside? Correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe roguelite elements or something where you collect these power ups, but
Mhm.
like it just didn't feel balanced right. I don't know how to articulate this, but it just they tried their best. It just felt like there was a component that was missing, and the only way I could describe it is that the component that was missing was other team members that could contribute their own specialties and imagination. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I could see
Mhm.
that. All right. So,
You know, sorry,
go
I
on.
was going to add one thing.
Sure, go
You know,
on.
Ukulele got a remaster that apparently actually makes it good.
Oh,
Yes.
really?
Of course, I actually like the original ukulele as is, but I've heard good things about the remaster.
I'm not a fan of very empty feeling worlds, probably with the exception of Shadow of Colossus. I don't think I would have the patience to play through that today, though. But now when I play a game, I kind of want it to be cluttered, like a Where's Waldo picture.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Like
Okay.
you can only go through what is mostly an empty open world so many times before they start to blur together.
Yeah.
Like I would rather have a smaller setting that is like densely packed with stuff to see and do.
Mhm. So, since this is, a retro podcast and, we talk about nostalgia and stuff, and 3D platformers is certainly a retro topic, what are, like, what you would consider to be some hidden gems for 3D platforming,
Ooh.
like games that are like, 10 plus years and older, that are the platforming genre that you would like, like quick fire, what you would consider to be some hidden gems that you think that people should check out. I know that we kind of touched on some earlier, especially with Paphvul's deep cuts, but let's expand on that a little bit.
Ooh, I got one. I got one for you.
Hmm.
Rocket Robot on Wheels, a 1999
Oh,
platformer for the Nintendo 64. It is a deep cut hidden gem. It's something none of us played, but I played a ROM on an emulator of it later in life, and it is a brilliant, really creative game. It's missing a certain polish. Like, you can tell it wasn't a high budget studio working on it. It was probably just a couple of passionate people making this game and trying their best. There are some moments where you kind of get stuck or you're not sure what to do, but the mechanics and the gameplay was really, really cool. And it's got a certain vibe to it when you're actually playing it and experiencing it. You're in this like I guess it's like a theme park at nighttime, and just the way the shaders are, the metallic shaders on the objects, and the way the level design is kind of surreal and dreamlike. It's got a very specific vibe that just cannot be captured anywhere else.
Yeah. But fun fact about Rocket Robot on Wheels, it's one of the first games, especially on
They got a
console,
decom.
to have a full physics engine.
Really?
Oh.
Yeah.
It does, now that I think about it.
Yeah.
And you reminded me of something else, but I don't want to derail you if you had any more thoughts on that game.
Oh, I do. Basically, that dev team that worked on Rocket Robot on Wheels, they went on to do the Sly series.
Oh.
Okay.
In fact, if you think about it, the two major figures at the theme park is a raccoon and a walrus.
Oh yeah.
Oh
Okay,
my god, yes.
So I have regrettably never even touched Sly Cooper. Could you tell me, please describe to me your feelings towards that game?
Okay, I've only ever played Sly 1, and only then it was just like for an hour. But it's basically imagine if you played a Crash Bandicoot game, but with like a open environment of like a Spyro level.
That sounds cool. That
Yeah.
sounds literally perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, that's how I definitely would like describe like Sly 1. Now, Sly 2 and 3, it's a bit more sandboxy and a little bit more like open world, something a little bit closer to, I would say, like something like Mario 64 or Sunshine. But I haven't really played those aside from like a demo once or twice.
I mean, that sounds awesome.
Yeah.
I also have never really played the Sly games.
I know that everybody that plays the Sly games like absolutely swear by them. They're usually like, if you can usually tell if somebody's played Sly or not, because if they have, they usually like include in like their top 10 platformers or whatever.
Don't even ask me my top 10. That's a much more difficult question. But
Yeah.
Sunnyside, you just reminded me. What the heck? What about Dinosaur Planet? That's a very special game in your heart. You would consider that a 3D platformer, right? What are your thoughts on that?
I consider that much more closer to like a Zelda game than a 3D platformer myself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's no jump button.
Yeah.
No jump button. All right.
Wah, wah. I'm
does
sorry,
it.
but yeah, I do really like that beta build. In fact, that's kind of what I built my whole YouTube channel off of.
Yeah.
And there is a decomp out that's hopefully going to be getting a lot more like attention and love now that it's
Nice.
more readily accessible because N64 emulation being what it is,
Yeah. Well,
it's
there's
a
a lot
lot
of
easier
really
to
good
just play the decomp.
there's a lot of really good decomps that are coming out. In fact, I've installed a lot of them on my new computer. That we could probably spend an hour talking about decomps, but that's another topic for another time. Maybe after the show I can share about some of the decomps I've gotten recently. But anyway, a hidden gem that I'm going to recommend. I'm going to recommend 3 really quick because they're all kind of related to each other. Duck Dodgers for the 64, Bugs
Never
Bunny
heard of it.
Lost in
Oh.
Time for
Oh,
PS1,
I
and
had that as a kid.
yeah, and Taz Wanted for the GameCube.
I've not played that.
Yeah. But they're all 3
Okay,
Warner
so
Brothers 3D platformers, and they're all really good.
I know you were doing a rapid fire, but please give a brief description of Duck Dodgers. I'm really curious about that. I'm looking at images on Google right now, and it looks really cool.
Yeah, Duck Dodgers was like a very late N64 game, and it was kind of like a Blockbuster exclusive. so it's like pretty rare. Unfortunately I didn't exactly have the best experience of it because when I rented it a couple of times, it was already like a 100% save file. So my experience was basically playing through all the worlds, but there was nothing to do in them because everything had been completed. but
And
but
the
it
game
had
does not let you. The game doesn't let you erase things.
it probably could, but I didn't want to do that because somebody worked hard to 100% that game. Um, but it has
Fair.
it had great 3D environments. Like sometimes I have dreams of like Nintendo 64 type stuff, and it'll almost always be like based off of the 3D environments of Duck Dodgers, and I don't know why that is. But it's like when I like have like N64 dreams, it's usually like some of those open environments from that game.
Okay, so
Huh.
I have to mention the what was it? Bugs Bunny time travel game. What was that called?
Bugs Bunny Lost in Time.
Lost in Time. I had that as a kid, and I have just these profound memories of playing through that. It was a beautiful game. Um,
Yeah.
I remember just like the opening level. You're in this graveyard, and the music and the vibe of it. He's
Oh
like,
yeah.
I'm not in Albuquerque anymore, and just like the gameplay was, it's just so vivid in my mind as a very unique experience.
It was. It kind of had tank controls, but not really. But it was like, I mean, it
In a good
was
way.
yeah. It's like
They
one
they
of the
refined it.
yeah. It's like one of those 3D platformers that actually kind of did tank controls right. It and I really loved how basically like almost every level in that game and almost every boss fight in Bugs Bunny Lost in Time is a direct homage to the various like Looney Tunes and Merry Melody shorts. Like when I played through that game, there was like deep cut after deep cut of like old shorts that like almost each level and boss was like a reference to. It's definitely like a who's who of Warner Brothers characters. And it's a fun 3D platformer that I almost never hear anybody ever talk about.
You know what's
Um,
funny? You know what's funny about Looney Tunes is that today, in the modern day, it feels kinda stupid and silly and redundant, like, what's up with these pointless cartoons? But that is a pure art form. At the time, just to be able to animate something in 2D like that frame by frame, they were pure artists.
yeah,
Uh, they defined the entire genre that Disney would go on to refine about, like, squash and stretch and all these animation principles.
yeah.
Um, and
It
just to be able to animate these characters, it is a pure expression of the imagination.
yeah, and you know what's it's strange is you look at some of that stuff and some of it like looks far, far better than modern animations. You know,
It
like some of the
does.
level of detail and the
They
just like,
were
you know,
artists.
yeah. It's like, why can't we have cartoons like this these days? And it's like you probably would ask like a modern animator, and they'd be like, "Well, it's impossible." uh,
No, you're lazy.
There's probably less. What is it? Humane working conditions. Like people don't have as much time to like perfect a given moment or scene. There's any number of reasons why a particular scene just doesn't look as good, and oftentimes it's got to do with crunch or just like a lot of people that are less experienced are being outsourced to do like the less important scenes. You
yeah,
look at something like Hell of a Boss, and you do see like a lot of the higher effort moments that I don't know if they match something from Looney Tunes, but they approach it very closely. I would say, like, if you are willing to look in certain indie spaces, as always, you can
yeah,
find like a fair amount of that particular Looney Tunes ethos.
yeah. Now, the last game that I mentioned, Taz Wanted for the GameCube, that was done by Blitz Games, and that was like their very next game that they did after Glover 2 was canceled because they were the Glover dev team.
I'm sorry, what was the title?
Taz Wanted. It's a
Taz
3D
Wanted.
platformer where he plays the Tasmanian Devil, and you basically imagine Mario, but Mario 64, but your goal was
looks
to
cool.
basically destroy as much as you can. And like almost all the like the puzzle solving is like you destroy something to like get to
No.
like the items you collect and stuff.
You reminded me of another game. I
Uh-oh.
want to hear you finish. But remind me to get back to the Grinch for PS1.
Yeah. And so so it's very much like a destruction oriented like 3D platformer. It's fine. I mean, it's definitely kind of it has more of like a budget game kind of feel to it, but it's fun. It captures the spirit of the Tasmanian Devil pretty well. But the best thing about the game is its soundtrack. The soundtrack was so good that even my father, who would just be like passing by the TV, would be like, "That's some good music." And like when I was a kid, I actually like had an old cassette recorder, and I would like just like cassette record some of the music just
I
so
used to do that.
yeah.
I think we all
literally
did.
I used to have a little audio recorder and I would record something I heard on the radio or whatever, and I would just play it back and listen to it with headphones. But
Yeah.
dude, you were I'm sorry, Sunnyside. I feel like you got more to say.
Well, no, it's fine. Basically, it's a fun 3D platformer for the GameCube. It has good cel shaded graphics. It's not going to be like it's not going to blow your mind because it's definitely just kind of a budget game for kids. But I will say one thing that's kind of funny in it is and this is a little bit of a spoiler, but throughout most of the game you think that Yosemite Sam is kind of the bad guy because the premise is like there's like this big huge park zoo thing that Yosemite Sam runs. He's captured Tasmanian Devil and you're basically breaking out. But then there's like a twist like right near the end of the game. Because throughout the game you're basically like given like tutorial from like Tweety Bird. And then, like, the twist at the end of the game is, like, Tweety Bird was, like, the main villain all along.
Ah!
Really?
All right,
Yeah.
I
I love that.
am watching a Taz Wanted 100% speed run. It takes 1 hour and 9 minutes to get through. I freaking love speed
Oh, wow.
runs.
Yeah.
That's
And,
the best way to get introduced into a game is watch a speed run.
yeah. So those are my 3 hidden gems I wanna recommend for this podcast. So, yeah, go ahead and say what you were wanting to say, Magma, about
All
the
right,
Grinch.
I got a few things to say. This looks really good, though. I'm watching a speed run of this Taz Wanted game. It is beautiful. It's got like a hub world that kind of reminds me of that what was it called? Crash CRT, something like that. It was like a crash racing game.
Crash
Crash Team
Team
Racing?
Reloaded?
Yeah, Crash Team Racing CTR. That's it.
Mhm.
It looks like, correct me if I'm wrong, but it looks like it has like a hub world and you like unlock these gates and go into these different worlds.
Yeah, kinda.
This game looks really cool. I gotta
Mhm.
play this. I'm gonna have a lot of fun with this.
Yeah.
We gotta scratch our itch for those old classic platformers. But yeah, this game looks amazing. A few more honorable mentions. I know there's like a Simpsons racing game. I can't think of the exact name for it, but it's a good
Tin Run?
platformer. Yeah. Yeah, there's like a Simpsons PS2 game. I don't know if you consider that a classic 3D platformer, but it is a 3D platformer. Um, a few more honorable mentions I got to bring up. Raymond, what was it? Raymond 2?
Mhm.
Man, too, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a
I don't know
really
if
First
I would
good
call
game.
that
3D
a
one.
hidden gem or not, but I agree with you. It is a good game.
It's definitely an honorable mention. Yeah,
Yes.
that was a good 3D game. I got through that as a kid. I don't think I beat it, but I remember like a dog on a leash trying to get to you. It was really difficult. Uh, just the whole discussion of 3D platformers is bringing back these very vague visceral childhood memories of just existing in this abstract world.
Yeah. Which
And
version of Rayman 2 did you play? 64, PlayStation 2, Dreamcast, PS1?
probably PlayStation 1.
Okay. Just curious.
And I feel like I rented it because I didn't beat it. If I owned it, I would have beaten it. Dang it, because any game I owned, I would have viciously just attacked it until I beat it. But I didn't beat Rayman 2.
Okay. All right. What's
And
left over?
one more on the topic of the Warner Brothers. So I'm sorry, I just remembered. On the topic of the Warner Brothers, uh, just video games. I'm sure they made hundreds of them. But Sheep, Dog, and Wolf. Have you heard of this game?
Well, it's known as Sheep Raider here in the United States. I rated it once. I didn't realize it was more of like a puzzle 3D platformer. I was expecting something closer to Bugs Bunny Lost in Time, so I didn't play it much. But it's supposed to be
Oh,
quite the achievement of a PS1 platformer.
were you disappointed by it?
I kind of was, but I think nowadays, if I played it again, I think I would probably love it.
It was just because of your expectations. The well was poisoned.
Yeah.
I don't know. What's funny is I actually haven't even played it yet. I haven't tried, so I'm kind of a hypocrite. But I I watched a video. Sunnyside, you might have sent it to me, to be honest.
I think I was it. I think I did send it to you.
It was a video review of this game, and it stuck in my memory. I'm like, before I officially start Wizard Kitty, which, by the way, is a game that I want to make, but I haven't started yet, and Sunnyside wants to help me with it. But before I officially start Wizard Kitty, I want to play through this game because I want similar gameplay. I haven't played through it yet, but I watched enough footage of it, and I've kind of obsessed over this game, and it's kind of weird. I guess I'm a weird person because I haven't played this game, but I have obsessed over it. But the soundtrack is so freaking good. I've listened to the soundtrack of this game multiple times. It has a perfect 90s drum and bass soundtrack. Um, it is so dang good. But yeah, it's a puzzle 3D platformer.
Yes. So you were going to mention something about the Grinch real quick before I turn it over to
Oh,
Paphvul?
thank you so much for reminding me. My ADHD, I lost it in my train of thought. The Grinch is another one of those uh hire some contractors to make us a movie related PS1 game. Um it's actually a beautiful game. Uh Obviously if you hire artists to work on a game, they have their own creative principles and their feelings that they're frustrated about that they want to convey through a game. And when you play this Grinch PS1 game, you feel their feelings. Um you play as this Grinch in Whoville and you relate as the Grinch. It just all makes sense to you. The Who's suck, but you're the Grinch and you're the one person who gets it. And you're a genius, brilliant inventor, and no one understands you. And you go through Whoville, you're crushing presents and knocking over snowmen, and so there's side tasks like that, like kind of like Bully. I wouldn't consider that a 3D platformer, but if you remember Bully, it was a really good game. You squash pumpkins and stuff.
Yeah.
There was a similar kind of vibe to the game loop where you do these little side like auxiliary quests where you could squash stuff and destroy stuff. Then you had your main mission, but it was a total collect-a-thon like Banjo Kazooie. But you could also collect these rare blueprints, and I gotta ask as a very brief aside, have y'all played Subnautica?
No.
It is
I have
not.
not.
It is not a 3D platformer. I would totally recommend it. Um, it is like a perfect 3D immersive survival game on an alien, like within an alien ecosystem. But anyway, there's somewhere you scan parts for broken equipment from fallen spaceships, and after you scan so much, you can unlock the blueprint for it and construct it. Well, in this Grinch PS1 game, there was a similar concept where you would collect enough blueprints and you would finally unlock like the jetpack. So you go back to your lab, spend your blueprints that you collected to build that new jetpack, and then you got a jetpack, or you get like a grabber arm or a hook shot or whatever crazy ability, some springy jump ability.
I think it was also released on the Dreamcast too.
Really, that's actually really interesting. Anything that was released on the Dreamcast, I'm interested in.
Yeah. And of course, it probably would look nicer on the Dreamcast as well. um,
Probably those graphics have such a vibe to them.
mhm,
I'm all about it.
yeah. All right. So, how about I turn it over to Paphvul? What's some hidden gems that you would recommend of older 3D platformers? You mentioned some D-cuts
So,
earlier. I'm sure you have some more.
well, let's pray, because I do remember very vaguely. Are y'all familiar with the Toy Story 2 platformer from like 2000
Yes,
ish?
Yes, yes.
dude, I remember that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you brought back more memories. Searching the database.
Yeah, I had
Yeah.
it on the 64, and I always loved the scale and scope. I mean, I never really got far in that game. I was just like Andy's house and Andy's backyard, like the first 2 levels. But
Yeah.
I just loved how perfectly it captured like the feel of being like the size of a toy in a huge
Yes.
environment. And honestly, it's like when I play it, it's like this reminds me of Chibi Robo, and then when I play like Chibi
Yes,
Robo,
BB
like it
Robo.
takes
I
me
played
to
that
like
as
Toy Story
well.
2.
You're reminding me of so much. I've forgotten all of this. My top 10 list would be populated if I could remember the games I played, but it's been so long. But Chibi Robo was a really good one. There's that girl with the frog hat, and you go down in the basement, and the Toy Story game was similar. That was such a good game. I have memories of like hopping on these shelves and trying to get the platforming just right. That was a beautiful game.
Yeah. Did you have it a PlayStation, Dreamcast, or 64? It was a multi-plat, so
I
It
had the
was
Dreamcast one.
Dreamcast. Lucky. I had a
I don't
PS1 and a
remember it
GameCube.
looking I don't remember it really looking all that different across platforms, but then again, I only that's the weird thing. Like most of the like really iconic platformers from that specific mini period, I played the Dreamcast versions of most of those. So
That's
if
so
it
cool.
didn't have a Dreamcast version, there's a chance I just never got to play it.
I'm totally jelly.
me too.
Um,
Yeah.
Sunny side, I gotta ask, how far did you get in that Toy Story game?
Well, like I said, just the first 2 levels, like Andy's house and then like Andy's backyard. Uh,
It was
I
so cool. Oh, okay. I'm sorry, but you reminded me of two things. One, did you play the what was that Pixar movie, Bugs Life? Did y'all ever play the Bugs Life PS1 game?
Yes.
I did, but I was like 4 years old at the time on a CRT that was like so dark I couldn't see what I was doing. So
Ah,
if so it was a very terrible experience, and so after that one rental, I never played it again.
it was a hard game. It was brutal. All right,
I
now
remember it very vaguely. Played it at like a cousin's house, but it was
that's
really
so
cool. I
cool.
remember that.
That's so cool you even remember that. It's amazing to relate with people over the most abstract, obscure concept, which is 3D platformers. Sunnyside, when you introduced this to me, I was like, I could talk about it for like 15 minutes at most. And what do you know? We've gone on for hours, and I could still probably go on for a few more. Um,
Yeah.
I got to ask y'all, have you played what? Just one more thing. Have you played the Buzz Lightyear PlayStation 1 game? Not Toy Story, but remember
Oh my
Buzz
god, I know
Lightyear.
what you mean. The one that was
Yes,
like a crash clone, right?
It
yes,
was kinda
Buzz
like
Lightyear. Buzz Lightyear had his own IP. It had a cartoon which I was obsessed with as a kid, and
I
it was its own
remember
like
that.
Star Trek universe. He
yeah.
was
I
it was
remember that.
like an Inception. Within Toy Story, there's the fiction of Buzz Lightyear, and
Yeah.
this game is that fiction where he is the hero of the universe, and there's alien races and all that.
Honestly, that Buzz Lightyear cartoon was better than that Buzz Lightyear movie that came out a few years ago.
It really
I
was.
mean, anyone can tell
so
you
much.
that.
Yes, thank you.
But yeah, I know the game that you're talking about. I never played that game myself. I thought it
It's
was
so fun.
interesting. It was like a cross between like a racing game and a Crash Bandicoot clone.
It was, yeah. You got a timer. It was so freaking stressful. I played the crap out of that game as a kid. I had it for the PlayStation. There was one level towards the end. It was like a Nosferatu, like some energy vampire. He was like a robot that sucked out electricity.
Yeah, I remember that because there
You got
used
to
to
that
be
part.
a guy that I was friends with that used to have that guy as its his avatar, his PFP for like years.
Interesting.
I think I remember the character too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know his name, but I remember vaguely who he was.
His level
He was like one of the main recurring villains, wasn't he?
Yeah.
His level was the most stressful experience of my childhood. I mean, I'm exaggerating, of course, but I remember like some of the villains. Each level, the theme of it was you got to chase down a villain. I remember there's a planet head lady. I think she was in a magma world, and she's got like planets orbiting around her head, and you got to chase her down. There was like a Farmer Joe guy with 4 arms. He was really cool. He had 4 guns. You got to chase him down. That level was cool. There was a second level in that theme, but it was harder and cooler. There was a futuristic world. I can't remember the character, but I remember the music was cool. There's a futuristic city, and you're jumping on rooftops. And there was a swamp world, and there was the Nosferatu character. And this guy was freaking stressful because you'd run through these levels, and you get trapped in a room. You got to defeat all the enemies before the door opens, and the timer's running out. So you're panicking. Your heart is racing. You got 2 minutes left, but the door is locked. You got to defeat these impossible enemies before you can proceed. I actually beat the game, believe it or not, but it was so freaking difficult.
Yeah. So, any other hidden gems you want to recommend, Paphvul?
God. I have only the very vaguest memories of, because again, I'm digging deep. I blew most of my good deep cuts, I think, early on, but I do vaguely remember the Emperor's New Groove one.
Yes, thank you for reminding me. I totally forgot about that. That was a good one as well.
Yeah, funny enough, that was made by Argonaut Software, and it was using their Croc 2 engine.
Really?
Oh. Huh.
I remember you would spit seeds as a weapon. That was a good one. Oh, Atlantis. Atlantis had a really good platformer 3D video game. I got really far into that. I don't think I beat it, but the Atlantis PS1 game, really good. Sunnyside, do you have any recommendations for deep cuts?
Well, I mean, I mentioned the 3 that I did earlier, but I can throw in a few others. There's Wallace and Gromit Project Zoo. Yeah, it's a 3D platformer. It was the original sequel to The Wrong Trousers, as Feathers McGraw comes back as the main villain. And then there was also there was some 3D platformer for the Dreamcast I remember playing once. It was like something Neo, and it was like you played as like this magnet kid, and he had like magnetism powers.
I do not remember that.
And I would also, I mean, they're a little bit more mainstream, but I would definitely recommend the Pac-Man World trilogy for like the PS1.
God, yes,
those were good.
Yeah, and
I remember those.
Oh, after you, I got a final mention.
Yeah.
Oh, I am trying to think of something.
Okay, Frogger for the PS1. I believe it was Frogger.
Oh.
I believe it was Frogger 2.
I played the second one.
Frogger 2 PS1. I'm looking it up right now. Yep, that was it. Frogger 2. You gotta play this. That is Swampy's Revenge. That is a serious recommendation. It's a hardcore platformer. like almost Crash Bandicoot 1 style, but you move tile by tile. You got to time everything just right. It's a whole adventurous world. I beat that game. It is so freaking good.
I played the Game Boy Color version. That's pretty much exactly like you're describing, I think.
Really? I gotta look that up.
It might have
I
been a
might just
port,
play
actually.
Game Boy Color. Okay. Game Boy Color?
Yeah.
Really? Not Game Boy Advanced?
Yeah, there was a Game Boy Color. Well, that game was released in like 2000 or 2002, right?
Game Boy Color. Yeah, I gotta check this out. The PS1 version was one of my most cherished games. I played the crap out of that. It had such a good big beat soundtrack, and to this day, I'm obsessed with big beat music. It was a British genre of total 90s music. What you imagine like Matrix sounding music with the drum and bass kind of break beats, but it's a mix of hip hop and uh, rock music. It's a really cool genre of music. I totally recommend looking into Big Beat. But yeah, Frogger 2, it's got an amazing soundtrack, amazing gameplay. Highly
Okay,
recommend.
so I'm going to throw in a couple of like last minute hidden gems. They're movie tie-in games.
Okay.
One is Toy Story 3 for the PlayStation 3, and
Whoa.
and the other is Wally for the PlayStation 2.
I never
I think
would
I
have
know
even
the
heard
Wally
of that.
game.
Huh. That's a platformer? Wally can jump?
Yes.
What?
Hmm.
I've never heard of this. This looks wild.
Yeah, and here's the thing, the PlayStation 2 version is completely different from the PlayStation 3 version of Wally. They're both 3D platformers, but they were both done by different development teams and are both very
What?
different games.
What?
Mhm.
You're blowing my mind right now. Come on, what else you got? I know you got more hidden gems hidden
Well,
within that mind, that
uh,
Sunnyside mind.
yeah, well, there's Ratatouille. Both the PlayStation 3 and the last gen versions are both very different games, but are both very good.
Oh,
Oh,
and
And
now that you've brought like Wii and such generation games into the fold, suddenly like memories of that particular period are flowing in.
what you got,
Like
Paphvul?
continue, but I am like trying to dig through my memory of that.
well,
Dig.
another hidden 3D platformer gem is Meet the Robinsons.
Oh,
Whoa, I love that movie as a kid.
Yeah, well,
same.
while there's various different releases of it, the best one that's considered is the Xbox 360 version of it. But
Hmm.
anyway, the interesting thing about it is basically the whole plot of the Meet the Robinsons video game is they took one cutscene that's basically like a throwaway gag from the movie and basically spun it off into its whole like own storyline that's supposed
That's
to like fit
hilarious.
somewhere in the middle of the plot of that movie.
That's amazing.
Oh,
It's just
that
what you
sounds
don't see in the
awesome.
movie.
Yeah, so it's basically like if like it's yeah, it's basically almost like a movie within a movie almost.
You know, you're bringing back so many memories. That was what inspired me so much as a kid when I saw Meet the Robinsons in theater was this vision of a good future. That was what another movie, Big Hero 6, captured. But the only like TV show I could find that captured that really well, please suggest something to correct me. But Star Trek is like the only TV show that represents a good future. Everything else in terms of like movies and stuff like Mad Max and uh, Blade Runner is like the bad future, the bad dystopian future. But Star Trek is like the only good future. And like Meet the Robinsons and uh, Big Hero 6 is the good future.
There's probably a couple of others out there. The problem is I'm kind of a fan of dystopian fiction, so I
No,
I
there's
I
so
don't
much of it.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
easier to think about
Remember,
problems than solutions.
Yeah, of course, Jetsons is arguably a utopian future if you want to count
Okay,
cartoons.
well, okay, there you go.
I
Yeah.
Any
mean,
more?
it's utopia-ish.
Hmm.
Like it's nice, but
Yeah.
Pop,
what was I gonna say?
what were you gonna
Um.
Oh
say,
yeah,
Popple? What were you
uh,
gonna say? Say
I
it.
had I had some. Oh right, it's not like the future, but it is like thematically about like stepping stones on the way to a future like
Hmm.
that. Y'all have seen Tomorrowland, right? The
No.
movie.
No.
No, I haven't.
Oh well, honestly, it's a it is a
What?
movie that I think I'm like one of the few people that saw it when it was new. I think I just saw it on TV, not in theaters, but anyway.
Yeah.
It's basically a movie about maintaining optimism in the face of just like the world being what it is. It's about how the future is not like set in stone. You can still change it, even though like everything seems to be pivoting towards this inevitable dystopia. This one girl who has both a profoundly creative mind and, more importantly, this unshakable, determined optimism, like she is able to. There's this prophecy-ish device that can like look into the future, and for most people it shows like, you know, global flooding, devastation,
Whoa.
etc. But when this one girl shows up in its presence and declares like her determination to set things right, for a brief flicker that future does change.
Okay.
Oh,
And
that is such a
it's
beautiful
a
concept.
it is. It's a great movie, honestly. A lot of people slept on it.
Thank you, Popful, for suggesting something other than Star Trek that represents a good future. I've been desperately hungry for representations of the good future because that's what I want to create. I'm going to do everything in my lifetime, dang it, to create a good future, to empower myself and everyone else to be the best person they can be and create the good future. And any representation I can see of that. I mean, the human imagination is what creates that good future. And the thing with to take a quick aside, but it's extremely relevant with modern geopolitics, all you see is everything going wrong, the world falling apart. And when
Well,
you're
bad news sells. So
it does. And I have a theory on that. As primates in the forest, we have adapted to recognizing threats. We see a cheetah walking through the woods and we go, we call that out to all our neighbors and we identify the threat. So now we watch the news, and what journalists do, they identify the threats and they call that out to the rest of us. Um, the thing is our higher divine aspect of ourselves is to see the future, to imagine, to see something better. That's what Star Trek did. They recognized touch screens and tricorders. They could call it to the computer. They predicted ChatGPT. They predicted so much. I I truly believe maybe someday we'll uh, join the Galactic Federation and meet other races out there in the cosmos and
fun.
practice the Prime Directive. But I, it's the imagination that can take us there. 3D platformers have got us so far in expressing the human imagination and exploring new worlds. And
Yes.
anything we can do to push the ball forward a little more, it is necessary for the human race.
Well, to quote Doc Brown from Back to the Future 3, the future is yours to make, so make it a good one.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So, we're kind of
Sonic
past.
CD also kind of counts,
Yeah.
since it's literally the place where you made a good future in Act One, or such and such comes from, essentially.
What does?
The like you made a good future in Act One thing I think it comes from Sonic CD, basically.
Yeah.
Oh, Sonic CD, you're right. Yep, you get a good future in that if you play it right.
So,
Which, as a kid, I had no idea how to do that, so I just always assumed like the third acts were supposed to be bleak like that.
honestly,
Good future is hard.
I kind of find the bad future versions of them to be kind of more visually kind of cool. I mean, they have like if you're playing the American soundtrack, they have the cooler soundtracks.
Yeah, you got a
Oh,
point.
definitely.
Yeah. Of course, that's a 2D platformer. So, guys, we're kind of well past the 3 hour mark. So I'm thinking
You're
we
right.
might want to kind of wrap up this podcast. My final topic for
Sure.
the for the episode is: what is your overall thoughts on the genre as a whole? Do you have any closing thoughts?
I just gotta
Uh,
say it's 1111. Those are angel numbers. The seraphim are with us, and 3D platformers are divinely important.
Divinely
I
important.
agree,
Okay.
honestly.
Yeah.
Like, the 3D platformer, I think it, for lack of a better term, the concept of like the mental palace of like how some people organize their memories and such. I
Yeah.
think I think the 3D platformer is in many ways one of the purest ways of expressing something like that. Oh my god,
Whoa.
I just realized I think Stray counts as a recent 3D platformer, doesn't it?
You're right. It does. Oh, honorable mention. It Takes Two is a two-player couch co-op 3D
Oh
platformer that finished
yeah.
and is very successful, and it's a good one.
It feels a lot like a Pixar movie, but it is a video game.
What, Stray or It Takes Two?
Uh Honestly, both.
Yeah.
I had It Takes Two in mind, but Stray could I could see Stray.
Yeah. All right. Well, I kind of feel like that 3D platformers, in a way, is kind of reflective of the heart and soul of gaming as an industry.
It is.
Uh, I think because it encapsulates so much of like the core elements of what makes video games fun. They sometimes have good story, good characters, creative environments, and at the core of it all, great gameplay. And I kind of feel like that 3D platformers, in a way, at least for me, is kind of a litmus test of like each console generation, in a way, since the fifth generation. Of course, beforehand, you had 2D platformers, but from Gen 5 onwards, I kind of feel like a 3D platformer is kind of a good kind of litmus test of what is kind of a reflective of the attitudes and genre and just kind of the state of gaming in each gaming generation.
Do you think they'll make a big comeback maybe 50 to 10 years from now?
Oh, I think
I think they're making a comeback now. I just
yeah.
mentioned Stray.
Hell yeah.
Like, how old is that game?
New?
Um, four
A few
years old,
years.
I think.
Yeah, only 4 years.
Good point.
But yeah, I think 3D platformers has the potential to come back. Will it be as huge as it was in like the mid '90s? Probably not, but I think it has the opportunity to become popular again. I mean, think about it this way: first person shooters, existed all throughout like the '90s and early 2000s before like Call of Duty Modern Warfare made it huge. uh,
All right, I'm channeling a prediction right now. In the year 2125, platformers are going to be huge. I called it.
okay.
Uh,
Mark it on your calendars, 2125. If you're alive to see it,
Platformers will be big,
I mean,
man.
I plan to be.
Me too. I plan to live to 128 if I can help it. Medical technology is getting pretty wild.
Also, wasn't
Praying.
128 like the magic numbers of that old Mario prototype?
128
Oh,
is a
it
beautiful
might have
power of
been.
8 number. It's magical in game design. In the Hammer editor and Operation Black Mesa, I work with 8, 16, 32, 64, 128, 256, 512, 1024, 2046, or sorry, 2048, 4096. Yep, power of 8 numbers. They're good for game design. Very optimized.
64-bit, 32 bits.
Yeah.
All right. So, with those overall thoughts out of the way, I think we'll go ahead and why don't we go ahead and plug who we are and our socials once again, and then we'll let Lance take it from here with his outro.
All right, be sure to check out
Ah.
Operation Black Mesa, tripminestudios.com. We got our website up. We're making constant progress on the game, releasing media releases when we can manage to, at least a few times a year. We got one we just released and one coming up. Please do check it out.
So earlier, since we were talking about like personal websites and a desperate need for a resurgence thereof, screw it. I'll plug in the one that I'm slightly embarrassed by, but
Do it.
honestly, it does it exists on a platform for that exact thing that I think in general needs plugging. So I will swallow my pride and say, yeah, Paphvul's layer on NeoCities is a
Ooh,
it is a site that exists.
Now, for
Nice.
the audience,
Honestly, I'm
what
just gonna
is
say,
GeoCities?
think GeoCities, but with a ton of quality of life features, and it has better, like, I think, is networking features the right word? It's better findability. Like, instead of having to rely on web rings, you have, like, an inherent browsing. Like, think about how, like, old MySpace was, and you have that kind of interface to find like entirely made from scratch bespoke HTML like personal sites that people make.
Dude,
Okay.
And
this is beautiful. I'm
it's
on popfullslayer.neocities.org right now, and I gotta say,
oh
there is a movement right now to deconstruct the internet and rebuild it. There is actually a movement ongoing right now of people hosting their own websites in the classic '90s style because the internet is dead and we need to revive it, and that's what you're doing.
aw. It's a site I haven't touched in a while, and I plan to give it a complete redo, but well, I mean, when I can be bothered to, but I am proud of the work that was put into it, and I'm glad you like what you're seeing.
Yeah. Well, as someone that is entering my 30s, I do kind of miss pre 2010 internet.
Yes.
I didn't really get
Same.
into the internet until around 2005 ish, and I have a lot of I mean, or at least back during like 2005, 2006, there was still like a lot of old 90s and early 2000 websites still around, along with like new and upcoming stuff, and that was kind of a fun period of time. I really wish internet would go back to like how it was in the late 2000s. I miss it so much. I
Same.
miss old YouTube a lot. Um, it
Same.
you, I I want 2008 YouTube back.
I want the
um,
2008 internet in general back.
yeah.
Like, to hell with the like massively gentrified, sanitized, just walled garden internet. Just no. I want the messy, weird, just random novelty sites, the random personal screeds that took up an entire page on someone's otherwise like innocuous site. Just like I
I
want
miss
all of the fun and weird stuff that you could like find while you were actually surfing the internet instead of just like scrolling through one endless website. Like
I miss web
I
forms.
web forms, yeah. Heck, I I don't know why people are using like Discord as like storage and onboarding for things. Like I don't want to join a Discord server to download a ROM hack because it's full of like kids and just edgelords and weirdo people, not the fun kind of weirdos, that have also like joined just to pop in, download the hack, and just leave, like I am. Like, it's the most awkward exchange ever. I don't know why people do it.
I'm
Well,
on your
anyway.
a field guide to spotting cute people, playing the background music, and I just gotta say, make the internet great again. We gotta make the internet great again.
Yeah. So,
Gotta do it.
to go back to the topic of your website, sorry for the tangent, but do you want to briefly plug what your Paphvul's layer is kind of about? Is it like on gaming? Is it on comics? Anything you want to add about?
No, I'd say
It's a
it's
big,
just
beautiful
whatever
website.
occurred to me to include at the time. Like, it doesn't have a central topic except things that interested me as of like the mid to late 2010s and early 2020s.
Okay.
There was
Nice.
like a sort of meta plot that I had going on that doesn't really apply to the OC that it's named after now. Because, like, you can see my Discord PFP. That's the Paphvul character that I currently use instead of the dragon. But I might put the dragon version up on, like, some archival part of the site if I
Okay.
ever get around to updating it.
Okay.
Popfulslayer.neocities.org. This is the place to be, guys. Get on board.
So,
Aw.
so yeah. So for me, like I mentioned earlier, I am a gamer. I play a lot of games. I stream now. I stream usually around 3 to 4 times a month. I would stream more, but I have a life and I have way too many obligations and things I'm busy with. Uh, um, I write. I'm
You
working
are a
on a
writer.
Star Fox fan comic right now, and it's
Oh, nice.
a passion project of mine that I'm trying to get off the ground. If you are an interested writer or an artist that want to make a web comic, feel free to hit me up because I am always looking for writers and artists for my project to collaborate with. Um,
Yes.
yeah. Anyway, you can find me on YouTube. You can find me on Twitter. You can find me on Reddit. You can find me on DeviantArt. Uh,
Be in the Alps,
and
pal.
yeah, and those are all going to be under the SummerSetBanjo handle. I also have a Tumblr that I almost never use, but it exists as well. I think it's under a different username. I can't tell you what it's called right now. But I also have a Ko-fi where I'm taking donations to help support my channel. Every little bit helps, especially in these very tough economic times. Um,
Please support Sunnyside. His dad could very much use the support.
yes, he suffered a terrible fall, and his elbow's broken, and his knee is dislocated, and he can't walk right now.
The human experience, it's a rough one, but
Yeah.
I truly believe this life is our boot camp that's meant to give us a tough experience so we can learn a hard lesson and we will be stronger people in our afterlife. And one last plug, I got to shout out Transport Seraphim. It doesn't exist now, but by the time you hear this, if you are a listener from the future, the game will be out within a few months, at least the demo. You get to play as Seraphim experiencing the war in heaven in a remote galaxy on a far corner of the universe. So please do check it out when it is out by the time you hear this.
Mm.
Awesome
What platforms will
choice.
it be on?
PC.
Okay.
Maybe mobile if I get more money.
All right. So I think with all our socials out of the way, I want to thank you all for listening. And be sure to check out future episodes of Lanceroy's Retro Reloaded and Pixel Panel. Thank you for your time.
Well, folks, that's game over for this episode of Retro Reloaded. Thanks for joining me on this retro adventure. If you loved today's trip down memory lane, then consider helping me keep the nostalgia alive by supporting me on Patreon at patreon.com/retro reloaded. You'll get early episodes, bonus content, and a chance to pick the next game that we reload. Feel free to let me know your thoughts about the podcast, and until next time, keep those controllers charged.